Welcome, YouTube. We're trying something new this week. We will be doing live tutorials on Twitch. You can find my Twitch stream at Bearded Ink on Twitch. Links all in the description below, of course. But every Sunday now, we will be doing an afternoon stream where we will be covering OBS Studio and Twitch itself, YouTube, streaming some of the bots, Streamer.bot, Mix It Up Bot, Nightbot, all of these, getting everybody up to speed with some of the more difficult aspects and maybe showing you some new things. So we're going to go over basic stuff to more advanced tutorials all through the course of the weeks coming up. And of course, you can watch those VODs. You can come in live with your questions while we are streaming, or you can check out the replay on YouTube the following day. Doing that until I run out of tutorial ideas. Yes, well, thank you, Betweener, for mentioning that. If you do have an idea, you can drop it in the description below. You can drop it in chat. You can join the Discord, where I have a new section just for the tutorial streams, where I will be posting all of the links to anything that we have to download, any scripting, or other things of that nature that go along with that specific tutorial, so that you have one place to go to get everything you need to follow along with that tutorial specifically. For the first one, I figured we would start at the very beginning. We're going to cover OBS Studio. We're going to cover it from downloading the studio to installing it, setting it up, the initial configuration. This includes some must-have plugins that I feel should be a part of OBS by default, but alas, they're not. We will cover connecting it to your Twitch account and give you a baseline for setting up your scenes and sources inside OBS so that you have a foundation for the future without having to go back in time and redo a whole bunch of stuff once you start changing your mind on how your streams need to look or feel. So hopefully, if everything goes smoothly, we will cover that and you will have a good idea of why you should be using OBS, which is what I highly recommend for anybody that is live streaming on any major platform, Twitch, YouTube, even Kick. And this includes the new streaming, that vertical streaming for like YouTube Shorts or TikTok. OBS is very powerful. It is open source, so it is free. It is only limited by your PC's power and your internet connection. So you don't have to pay for more bandwidth. You don't have to pay for better resolution. You don't have monthly fees. And plus, it is more robust in all natures. So how does it compare, say, to some of the more popular ones out there like Streamlabs or Stream Elements, or what are those other ones, the ones you have to pay for? Obviously, you don't have to pay for it. OBS is free in both terms. Open source, free is in free to distribute, and also free is in free. It doesn't cost you any money. OBS is what Streamlabs and Stream Elements are built on because of the open source functionality. And for a beginner, it can be very confusing, and OBS is very daunting. It is a pretty high learning curve. There's not a lot of things that will tell you, oh, do this, do that, click here, drag here, which Streamlabs and Stream Elements kind of do. They have the drag and drop and all that, but they are also limited in what they can do. So a lot of the plugins that make OBS even more functional and robust don't work with those. And as a beginner, you may not think about that. You may not know that you need to, have these things. But as you grow as a streamer, you're going to learn that, oh, I want to have certain functionality, and this just doesn't handle it. So my perspective and point of view on all that is, if you're going to learn a new program, such as, the Streamlabs OBS version, you're going to eventually evolve as a streamer into needing to do something with more capabilities and more power, which in this case is OBS Studio. So you're going to have to then learn OBS Studio anyway. And then you have to learn how to transfer everything you've done over the past few months or few years into OBS Studio so that you are not starting from scratch, and it just makes it a big hassle. So why would you do all of that when you can just learn one program the one time and grow with it? So if anybody ever asks me, which they do quite often, I always recommend just starting with OBS Studio because you will most likely end up there eventually anyway. It's free and compatible with different streaming and recording platforms. It requires more manual work than other smaller software, but definitely worth it. That is correct, yes. And on my website, 1445.com, I do have a complete breakdown blog post about OBS Studio, and I cover all of the variants, all of the different similar softwares and services that are out there for you to compare and contrast if you are interested in that. You can head over to 1445.com and check out the OBS pages there, which is also something I need to do. I need to get more content up on that, but one thing at a time. So today we're going to go over installing and downloading OBS, some of the plugins like I told you. And obviously, I already have OBS installed and functional because it's what I'm using right now to broadcast this video. So I'm going to be doing it a slightly different way. And we're going to make what is called a portable version, which is something you can do as well. OBS is portable. You can install it to a thumb drive or an external hard drive, for example, and take it with you. And it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be connected to your computer. The default method is what I highly recommend. If you're on your own PC, install it to your hard drive so that all the admin files and the registry entries and the app data all gets put in the right spot. But for showing you what's going to happen, I'm going to be doing a portable version. So you will learn both ways of how to install it. Also with the plugins, because if you do the portable version, you have to install the plugins manually. So I will be showing you that while telling you how it happens automatically with the installers that come with the plugins. So we're going to cover a whole lot today, so we might as well just jump in and get started. Hi, fancy meeting you here. So the first thing, before you can ever use OBS Studio, is you have to download it. Like I told you before, it is free. It is open source, which means you can have it. You don't have to pay money for it. There's no monthly subscription, no one-time fees. You can also download the source code and make changes if you are so inclined and redistribute it following Creative Commons licenses that OBS falls under. The website, which again will be linked, all the links that we cover today will have a link in the description below on the YouTube channel, or you can again join the Discord where I will put everything there for you to have in the tutorial section. It feels like you're in class right now. Well, good. I don't have a ruler to smack knuckles with like my teachers did, but you know. Anyway, so the website for OBS is obsproject.com. And when you go there, you will be greeted with a page that looks just like this. And as you can see, OBS is a stable release for Windows, Mac, and Linux. It runs on anything and everything, anywhere and everywhere, almost without exception. We will be covering Windows versions, mainly because streamers that use games use Steam, and Linux games are very lacking. And but for those of you that are using OBS Studio for other reasons like audio recording, making videos and stuff like that, recording, you may have the Mac version. Everything is almost identical. Obviously, the shortcuts and the folders that we install everything into will be slightly different. Your structure, you know, you will use the command key instead of the control key, etc. Is there a test at the end of the semester? Yes, Che, there will be a test. You have to follow everything exactly as we do, take good notes, and then you have to do it yourself and go live following everything that you have learned in class. And it will be graded. You're sick that day? Okay. Fair enough. So when you come to the OBS Studio page, there's not a whole lot to do. They do have a lot of little tutorials. They tell you about the OBS project, of course, as they would, show you some of the highlighted features and what you can do with the program. But we already know what you can do with the program, so we're going to just download it. You do well, yeah, unless you know what you're doing, and then you can break it and fix it in your own way, right? So but we're going to go Windows. It does support both Windows 10 and 11, the latest version. They still have Windows 10 compatibility. The latest version just came out earlier this month, version 29.1.1, which if you are on an older version, I highly recommend that you upgrade to the 1.1 update. It has a lot of bug fixes, crash fixes, and corruption protection, especially if you are like me and you switch scene collections a lot. That can corrupt some of the files that are being written to and read from, and this new version actually addresses that. So it was a no-brainer for me. However, personally, when OBS comes out with a new major version, so they're on 29 now, when version 30 comes out, I usually tend to wait a few weeks before I go ahead and upgrade, because I know that within the first few weeks, there's going to be, thank you, Benny, there's going to be a few changes and bugs that need to be addressed. So, you know, going not changing scenes. No, Tweener. We'll cover this in a little bit, but there is a scene collection, which is basically what you are using at that time. You can have various scene collections. So like I have a scene collection for my horror games. I have a scene collection for my Pokemon speedruns. I have a scene collection for my Baldur's Gate speedruns. So I don't have to worry about having 27 different scenes to cover the exact same thing with different graphics or sound alerts or anything like that. I can just have a scene collection, put things where I need them to be, and they stay there. Yeah, Benny comes in late for class and just starts screaming at the top of his lungs. No, welcome back, Benny. It is good to see you. I hope that Sequestria Con or Sequestria event, was it a con? I don't know. It looked like you had a lot of fun with the pictures you uploaded. So welcome back. I'm glad that you are home safe and sound, and I hope you had a wonderful time. Con, but named Fest. Okay, that makes sense. All right. Sequestria Fest Con. Yes, there you go. So where were we? We were downloading OBS, right? That's the first step. So again, there are a few options. You can just click the button for whichever operating system you're using. You have the download button if you would like to go to more. So we're going to go to Windows, and we're going to download. And as you can see, it just pops up automatically. I'm going to go ahead and put this into my tutorials drive. I have made a whole new directory right for it. It does come with the Windows with the installer. Linux will have to either use the Flatpak, or you will have to do the make and learn commands and build it yourself. But I highly recommend with the OBS, you will be a slight version or two behind. If you use the Flatpak, you will be a major version behind, but it is also the most stable. But if you want the latest and greatest, you're going to have to manually do it. For Mac OS X, you will also have the installers that will guide you through the setup process as well. So we're going to go ahead and save this exe file. And once it's done, which doesn't take long, you're pretty much good to go. We're going to cover all these other tabs up here. These are some of the plugins and stuff. But before we can have the plugins install, we have to also have OBS installed. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. And I'm going to bring this up. This is where we did it. Now, normally, I would have you install, just double click the installer, and it's going to take you through an install process. It will bring up your UAC if you have one. And then, of course, you will get the standard installation process. And as you go through, As you can see, I'm already running, so I'm not going to be able to do this follow, but it's basically everything is default. So it will default install to the C drive, the programs file or folder, excuse me, not the programs x86. So when you do see that, and I will show you here in the programs file, you will find that OBS Studio, if I can spell right here, is what you will find, all lowercase with the hyphen OBS Studio. And this is where all of your files will be. So for the tutorial purposes, we have the installer. Once the thing is installed, we will have, where is my tutorial? Here it is. These files just in your OBS directory, and you can copy them over. Tuna fish, how are you? How are you? So if you want the portable betweener, what only thing you have to do, and this is what I love about it. Once you have it unpacked or installed, you create a brand new text file, and I'll go here and show you. We're just going to make a new text document, right? And then all you're going to do is you're going to come in and you're going to name it OBS _ portable _ mode. I'm doing good, Tuna. Doing good. We're testing out this new Sunday stream tutorial tech process. So hopefully it goes well. But yeah, so you have your new one. We're going to rename that OBS _ portable _ mode. And now you have a portable version of OBS that we have here. So I don't know. I don't even remember which one I have is the latest version. So we're going to go through and take a look. Here we go. This is what I want. We're going to take this and we're going to move it out. And we're going to put all of this, where'd it go? Into the portable here. And then move my folder here. All right. So now that I have all of this done, and of course, when you are just installing OBS onto your hard drive, this is not something you have to do. You would just find your exe file and go straight through to the installer, excuse me, and follow along with everything default. There aren't any, you know, hidden files or anything like that that you have to configure before the install. It's just straight through install. Right here's the directory and go. What am I guessing? Guess what? Guess what? 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 Megabot? No. That's fine. You got 1,000 frames on your new. Oh wow! For those of you that don't know, Tuna Fish is making animations, and he has a TikTok that shows his process for making animations, and they are quite incredible. I think we previewed. Was that the one we previewed when I was playing the horror game a couple weeks ago? It reminded me of that animator versus animation with the fighting stickmen. That was amazing. So we're going to try, we're going to go in here and we're going to go to the data. Oops, not data. Oops, I'm in the wrong folder. OBS Studio, we're going to go bin. We're going to go 64-bit because that's where we are. And you go on to OBS. The one you looked at was the purple versus black and blue. Oh, it's a new one. Oh, nice. Nice. Tutorials is old. There we go. Okay, we'll go with this one. So, when you install and run, you're not going to have any of this. Your initial setup will look similar to this, but not exact because I have done a few things. We're going to go in. Let me see here. You know what? No. All right. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay. Pop, 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 pop. That's an old one. Tis old. I have so many versions of this installed already. It's not even funny. I think testing is old too. .29.0.2. Well, we're gonna go with this. So All right. Now, once we why am I so hot? I need to turn my fan on. It's hot in my house. Hold on just a sec. All right. Yeah, that's better. Got to download the new one. Yeah, well, I do. I should have had that installed before I went live, but you know. I wanted to show. Maybe I should though. Maybe I should end stream for a minute and a half that it takes to install that. And come back fresh. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We're gonna make it work with this one right here. No, we're doing this live on my PC, my friend. So when you come in, let's just see. I'm gonna go through here. Disconnect. Yes. Audio. Desktop is gonna be default. And mic, I think, is default if I remember correctly. Yep. All right. So when you get OBS installed, yeah, I actually have like 4 different ones running. I keep 2 versions back, so I have versions 27, 28, and 29. I also keep 2 versions of the minor versions back, so I have like the current version is 29.1.1. So I have 29.0.2 and 29.1.0 just to test different things and see how everything works and runs and performs and what I need to do, different moving forward. Because of all the things that I do in OBS. So I have most of them are installed on a separate hard drive. I have 3 internal hard drives and a couple of external hard drives, which is just overkill, really. But it helps with little things like these. But most of the And like I said, this is going to be scuffed, right? Because this is the first time we're doing this live. Normally, I'm using OBS to record these tutorials, and then I just edit them and post them on YouTube. So we're doing it live, so you get to see all of the shit that goes on outside of the recording that isn't there. But yes, you can actually run two instances of OBS at the same time. If you already have one open and you double click the shortcut again, it'll pop up and say you are already running OBS. Do you want to run anyway? And if you say yes, it will open up a second instance. However, whatever you do in one will happen, so you can't use that for like a recording. But you can hide the windows and things like that to make it better. So if you don't want two separate installs and run one portable like I do for my recording so that you can actually see everything, then you don't have to. Why am I looking at that instead? There we go. Okay. But yeah, so when you first get OBS installed, it's going to look like this, more or less. They do have a new graphics now. I don't like the graphics because it makes the buttons too big and clunky and colorful, and I don't need the distractions, so I change all of that. But the first thing you want to do is basically look and see what you got, and then we noticed, or I told you earlier, that there are some plugins that are basically required that I think should be a default install with OBS. And one of them is what I use to control all of the audio on my streams. Now, it's going to get a little bit confusing when we get there, so bear with me, and this is where your questions will come in handy, so feel free to stop me at any time and ask me, hey, cover that again, go back over that, whatever the case may be, whatever you need, so that we can make sure that you get the best out of it. But OBS has a new built-in audio plugin, is based off of the plugin that we're going to install. So you cannot uninstall that. So you're going to actually have both, and you just need to know which one to use. But the plugin that we're going to install is more robust. It has more features. It's easier to use, and it works a lot better than the built-in one. So we're going to go over that. So the first thing you have to do when you install a plugin, of course, you have to download the plugin, and then you have to run the installer or manually install it into your folders. And I'll show you how to do that, of course. And to do all that, you have to have OBS closed. So we're going to close the OBS. And just remember that I am in testing, right? Okay. So the first one always is going to be when capture audio. This is the one I was telling you about. They did with version 27, OBS included a form of this plugin into their scripting. And like I said, it is just not quite there as far as what this plugin can do. So again, the link to this plugin will be in the Discord. It will be in the YouTube description as well for you, called When Capture Audio. Currently, it is on version 2.2.3, which it has been for almost a year now. The only caveat with this plugin is that you must be running Windows 11. You can also use Windows 10 as long as you have the 22H2 update, which came out 2022, I think. But if you are using an older version of Windows 10 and you haven't done all of the new updates, the Windows made changes to their audio API that this plugin requires. So it's not on the older versions. Yeah, last October. Yeah, thank you, Benny. So if you don't have the latest version of Windows 10 or you're not on Windows 11, this plugin will not work. So, also upgrade your PCs, you lazy piece of shit, because Windows 10. Anyway, moving on. When you come here, the link that you're going to click on, you will see this page. This just tells you what the latest version is. We're going to click on Go to Download because this one is actually a large file and it is kept on GitHub. So we're going to scroll down to where the assets are located, and you most likely on Windows. Moving on. Yeah. Thank you, Benny. Are going to click the exe setup. Okay, I'm not going to do this. I told you I was going to show you how to do it manually, which is what we need to do for the portable mode anyway. So I will be getting the zip file. And again, you just click it. It's going to go on. We're going. Where are we? What did I say we were in? Recording? Is that the one I said we were in? I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Testing. I was in testing. Okay. Yeah. So we're just going to go in and I'm going to save the zip file. Now you're going to save the exe. Once the exe is downloaded, run it. It'll run through, say, do you want to install this? You say yes, click, OK, and then it'll be done. Now for the rest of us that don't have the installer, you're going to get the zip file. We are going to extract the zip file. I'm going to say yes to extract it right here. And then inside, you're going to notice that there's a data and an OBS plugins folder. And if you happen to look at your OBS folder in the OBS Studios, there's going to be a data and an OBS plugins folder as well. So what we do for a manual install is you take everything that's inside that zip file. You're going to copy it. I usually use keyboard shortcuts, but you can't see the keyboard. So we're going to do this with the right-click way. We're going to copy. We're going to come into OBS Studio right here where the data and the OBS plugins, and we're going to paste, and it's going to overwrite. It's not overwriting anything that's already in there. It's just adding to. So now if we were to go into our plugins folder, you would see that we have the new stuff included in there as well. So now at this point, if you have done the exe or the manual install and you restart your OBS, the Wind Capture Audio plugin will be there and active. You're still using Windows 10. Yeah, Windows 11 did make a lot of changes and requirements for the BIOS because you have to have that extra layer of security, and a lot of the motherboards that were running Windows 10 had that disabled or not as an option. So if it's disabled, every time you reboot the PC, it wants to disable it by nature, even if you go in and manually enable it. So yeah, I can understand that BIOS crap is hectic. I've had to deal with that a few times myself until I got the new PC. So then it was like, oh yeah, we already have that. But yeah, Windows is not my operating system of choice. I am a Linux baby. I have been for decades. But because I am a streamer now, and I play, most of my games are on Steam, they're not Linux compatible. So I have to spend more time on my Windows drive than I do my Linux drive. But for most of my work and stuff of that nature, I'm over on my Linux side, hacking away. So we have that installed, and we're going to go ahead and go through all of these and get all of the plugins that I'm going to recommend to you today installed. And then once we open OBS, we'll go through them in more detail because we don't want to open and show, close and open and show, over and over and over, because that would just be really confusing, I believe, for you. So again, if I go too fast or I cover something and you don't quite understand, stop me in chat, ask your question, and we can go back to it. Between says, I always use Windows. Even I like to say Windows is called Windows because it's the first thing you want to throw out the window. Yes. Yes. Windows peaked with their Windows XP, Windows 2000 versions. After that, it started kind of, but it is what it is, right? It works mostly. So, you know, the next one plugin that we're going to cover is the Windows servers and Active Directory actually is really well. I like Active Directory. No, welcome in, Lily, and no worries. There is no time limit here. You arrived precisely when you are supposed to. But thank you for joining us today. Okay, this plugin is called Source Copy, and the current version of this one, as you can see on the screen, is 0.2.2. This name right here, Exeldro, is a god among men. As far as OBS community is concerned, Exeldro makes some of the best and most functional and helpful plugins that you will find. And in fact, most of the ones that we install today will come from him. And then my future tutorials that cover specific plugins, a lot of them come from Exeldro. And if you are aware, there was a major plugin called Stream Effects. That one is for Windows 11 only. No, the Win Capture Audio is the one that was for Windows 11. The rest of these don't have a Windows version limit, so you should be fine. But if you ever are curious, on the page that I link to, I don't link to the direct downloads or to the source files because I want you to go to this page for a reason. Every plugin will tell you which version of the operating systems is compatible. So in this case, it's 32 and 64. It'll tell you the minimum version that it works with. So this one will work all the way back to OBS 26. If you're still on 26, what are you doing? And then it'll also tell you if it works on Mac, on Linux, on Windows, etc. So you have all the information you need right on that page before you get the download. So, and yes, Exeldro representing the duchies. But no, Exeldro. There was a plugin. Well, there still is, but it was called Stream Effects, and I used the hell out of Stream Effects. That was what I used to do my drama zoom with the camera and turn the color black and white and play the sounds. It's what I used for my transitions to move all the shit around. So when I switch from one scene, like the scene previous where my camera was larger and in the middle, and instead of just having it disappear and reappear, it would actually slowly move to the corner and shrink in size to where it is now. I had color corrections. I mean, this thing did about 40 different things, and it was great. And then the creator of that plugin got a little bit feisty with his community, and he started getting a lot of hate. So when the update to version 28, which was a major version for OBS, changes, changed a lot of their internal files, and almost every plugin had to be rewritten or updated. He put it behind a firewall or a paywall, Patreon, and to this day, it is still not 100% compatible with everything that it used to do. But he hid it behind the Patreon and started charging for it, right? Which is no problem. I don't have a problem with people taking their hard work and asking for money for it, but it was the way he did it and the way he spit fire and bullets at his community that was supporting him, and then not updating it and only releasing like alpha versions that you had to pay for that may or may not even work. So in that absence, once the Stream Effects got taken away from us and was no longer functional, Exeldro was one of the ones that stepped in and said, oh, I can make a plugin that does that. So he's made like another 10 plugins since that time that replicate everything Stream Effects used to do. So it's not all in one anymore, which is a shame, but you can still find that same functionality. So what used to happen with my drama zoom now can still happen It can still happen thanks to Exeldro. So yeah, the links, I'll put the links up on the YouTube when I post the video for all of these to download. And I'm also going to post them in the Bearded Pint server on Discord tonight. So for those watching the VOD can come in and get them. So you can get them either way you like, Tweener, no problem. But source copy is one that I think should be in OBS by default, and I use the shit out of this. Now, if you only have a couple scenes right now, you may not find it useful, but I'm going to tell you to go ahead and install it right now. What this one does is it allows you to take any scene, any source, any filter that you have on a source and copy it. So as I was telling you earlier, I have all these different scene collections, right? So instead of having to reconfigure my webcam or reconfigure my game screen or reconfigure my alerts and stuff from scratch, I have them working on this scene. I can use this plugin and copy them exactly from where they're positioned to their size, to their filters, their performance, what they do, what they connect to, an exact copy, go to my new scene collection and load that copy into it, and I don't have to do anything else. So it is a lifesaver, and it is also a great way to make a backup if you so choose. So we're going to go ahead and do that. This is what it kind of looks like. It just adds a little drop-down menu source of what you want to copy, but we'll go over that once we're in. But again, we're going to click on the download, and as you can see, this one is hosted on the OBS site, so we're not going to GitHub. And again, you just need to find what version you're doing. So if you're on Windows, you're going to get the Windows installer. You're going to click the download button there. It's going to download the exe again, just like last time. Double click the exe, and you're good to go. For me, again, doing the portable, we're going to do that once more. So we're going to open up this where we did source copy. We're going to extract it. Once it's extracted, we're going to, not rename it. We're going to go inside. We're going to copy. We're going to come back into our OBS Studio. Got the data and OBS plugins folders. We're going to paste, and it's going to overwrite. Now we have that plugin installed in our portable version of OBS. For those of you with the exe, again, just double click the exe. It'll walk you through. This is what we're installing to the default directory. Yes, yes, yes. And it's installed. Takes a couple seconds. So now we have 2 out of the 4 plugins that we're going to do. And if you stop here, you're not really going to miss out on a lot of anything that you will actually notice for your streaming or your recording. The next 2 that we're going to go are more quality of life and planning for the future. And I told you at the beginning of this, we're starting from scratch with OBS, and I want you to build a foundation that you don't have to go back and redo from the ground up when you decide later on in your streaming career to make changes. So these next 2 are for that, and it's going to help you stay that one step ahead of the game because you don't have to start from scratch every time. This one is called the Scene Collection Manager, and the current version of this is 0.0.8 as of today. And again, it's been 9 months since it was updated. This is another Exeldro. I told you we're going to be using a lot of his. But basically what this does is it takes your entire scene collection, and once we open up OBS, I will cover the difference there again. But you can filter it. You can create backups of the entire scene collection. You can restore a backup right from the inside OBS. You can also set it to automatically create a backup every time that you close OBS. So if OBS were to crash or OBS were to write a corrupted file, which does happen from time to time, and anybody that has ever had a computer longer than about a month knows that a corrupted files, they just happen when things get written and read to, or read from and written to over and over, eventually that file is going to have an error in it that won't, well, let me try to say this in English. That file will have an error in it that will not allow it to be read properly or function as it should. So having a backup will allow you to correct that issue. And this will do it for OBS on a scene by scene or a scene collection basis. So as you can see here, it's just a little pop-up that tells you every scene that you have or scene collection that you have. And then these are the backups, and you can, like I said, set it to automatic, or you can just make one right then. And if you need to restore, you just click and restore. So it's very easy to use. And once again, with the download, find your version. The installer is what I always recommend because it makes it so much simpler than trying to do it manually. But for our needs today, we're doing the manual. We're going to save the zip file. Once that is saved, again, same as always and before, we are going to find our scene collection manager. We're going to extract it. I'm going to click yes on extract. We're going to go inside. We're going to copy. We're going to go back to our OBS Studio. We're going to paste. Boom. Now we have Scene Collection Manager installed. And then for the fourth one, another Exeldro. This is called Move Transition. Now, I remember I told you that Stream Effects plugin that allowed you to move things around the screen and whatever. This is actually, Move Transition was actually made, I think, before Stream Effects. And this one does it better. Not only does this Move Transition allow you to move items on your scene. So for example, I can use Move Transition to take my camera where it is on screen right now. I can use a hotkey, a stream deck, a command in chat if you have the right bots to set that up, and it will move to the bottom corner or to a left corner, or it will grow large and get to the center, whatever you want it to do. You can also use the Move Transition to set it when you change scenes. So when you go from your just chatting scene to your gameplay scene, you can have everything automatically move into the position it needs to be in and resized and all of that. And it is a lot of fun to use, and it just gives your streams that more, that professional quality look, right? When instead of just having shit jump around or disappear, it's that transitional move and resize and stuff that makes everything look really nice. So I highly recommend that you put that in. And you can, again, like I said, so when you're moving from one scene to another, everything just does what it's supposed to do, and it works so great. This one has been out since version 25 of OBS, and it doesn't really need much of an upgrade. So it's a great plugin to have in your arsenal. So again, we're going to go ahead and do that for you. Doing the default install, use the installer. For those of you that are following along and testing this out and you haven't done that, or you want the portable version, again, get the zip file, and we're going to do that. And then we're going to, once again, extract and copy. So we're going to go out here. We're going to find our Move Transition. We're going to extract it. I'm going to say yes. And then we're going to go here, copy. We're going to go back in here and paste. Okay. Now, as far as the plugins that should come pre-installed in OBS, those are the 4 that I always recommend. Now, there are a couple other ones that I may recommend to you on a personal basis. If you come to me with an issue or whatever, I will say, oh, there's a plugin that will address this or help make this better. If you come to me and hire me to help you set up an OBS install correctly and right from the beginning, based on what you were going to be using OBS for, I may recommend a couple of other plugins. But as a default, OBS Studio and these 4 plugins, I always say, are a must-have. And if OBS were to wake up and put all 4 of these in their default installations, it would make everybody's life a whole lot easier. But, we have to do what we have to do, right? So for now, we're gonna close these down because we already have them. And I like clean things. And then we're going to talk about LUAs really quickly. We're going to go ahead and download it so that we're done downloading everything and we can get into the setup of OBS, but the LUA will come later. For those of you that don't know, LUA is basically a script. It's like a plugin, but it runs separately and just adds a little bit of functionality to whatever it is without having to be installed. Most of these LUAs for OBS do something specific, but the one that I recommend is called the OBS LUA Auto Starter. And essentially what this is going to do is, and you'll see once we get it installed, is it's going to give you the functionality that every time you double click your OBS shortcut to open OBS, you can also at the exact same time open other programs on your computer. So, for example, when you go live on Twitch or YouTube, you're going to open OBS. You may also open Streamer.bot or Firebot. You may open Steam. You may open VTube Studio. Whatever it is that you open. So instead of going through and clicking all of these shortcuts, you can add these programs to this LUA script. And when you open OBS, it will then run that script and open all those other programs. For speedrunners like myself, I use it to open my speed counters and my timers. I use it to open my bots. I use it to open my text-to-speech bots and OBS and everything. And then you can also set it. There's an option, and you'll see later that you can toggle it on or off, that when you close OBS, it'll also close all those programs. So it makes it really easy. And for a little text file and about 12 seconds of setup, it's a no-brainer. This one I recommend, and this is going to go to that quality of life thing and that great foundation that I talked about earlier. When you have your OBS install, it will come with the bin folder, the config folder, your data, the OBS plugins folder as the default. And then as you grow, and there will be more things added to it. I don't recommend keeping everything in this folder. OBS and its plugins should be in this folder. Everything else, I think you should keep somewhere separate. Personally, I use a My Programs folder, which is a root level directory. So it's on my C drive on the same level as the program files, program x86, all of those. And it is where I keep everything that I have to do with streaming, OBS, my speed runs, everything. And it's basically just a folder, but it acts as a programs directory. So I can keep everything in there. EXEs will execute, that kind of thing. And as you can see, I have a specific directory inside that one for my LUAs. I have one for graphics. I have one for my plugins. I have one for sounds. This is just how I organize my stuff. Doesn't mean you have to, but I do highly recommend that you have a specific spot on your hard drive for all of your OBS and or streaming stuff, so that once you put something in there, it stays in there, you know where it's at. Because if you start moving files around to clean up your computer and you open OBS and half of your stuff isn't displayed anymore, now you have to manually go look for it. If you have everything in one spot and it's a permanent spot outside, because like me, I don't know if you've seen yet, this is what my desktop looks like. I hate icons. I hate shortcuts. I hate taskbars. I have nothing on my computer that doesn't need to be there. So everything that I keep is all off of my desktop and things like that. So finding things once I move them becomes a headache. So that is just a quality of life suggestion from me. But this is where it's going to start right at the beginning. So make your directories for what you need. You can always add to them later, edit them or whatever. But you want to find a place so everything has its home, and the LUAs are no exception. Now, for the purposes of this, I am not going to do that because we are running on a portable mode and I already have this LUA in my specific spot. But just letting you know, this is another do as I say, not as I do type of thing. But we're going to go ahead again and download. And as you can see, it is just it gives you a name .lua. It is a text file. You can open it with any text editor. But we're just going to save the LUA right to our folder. So now it's in there with all of our other stuff. There it is right there. And we're going to go ahead and get rid of some of these because we don't need them anymore. I'm going to save the zip files and get rid of everything else so that it's not confusing for you. Actually, I'm not even going to keep those. You probably need to, but I'm not going to. So I'm going to put the auto starter inside our OBS Studio directory. And as you can see, again, if you click on it, you can open it with a text editor and it looks like this. It is a text file. And that's all it does is it runs things. So that's it. That's all you have to do for that. Okay, so once we get that done. Now, we're going to open up OBS again, and it's going to have all of those 4 plugins that we installed will be there, and I will show you one by one. We're going to cover all of those. But before that, we need to set up OBS to connect to your streaming service of choice. We need to do some configurations in the actual settings, and these, most of them are going to be one-time changes. So we get that done in the beginning, and then we can go on and start building our streaming empire from within OBS. Before you do that, though, I highly recommend that you close everything down, have no programs open, nothing running, or minimal things running. Don't do it right now if you're live in stream because I don't want you to leave. And then just go and run a speed test. This is going to test your internet. Now, everybody, oh, I pay for 1,000 gig download, and I don't care about your download speeds. Okay, this is not the point. What we are interested in is the upload speed. Excuse me. Now, you can just type in speed test in Google. Google has an internal one, which is what I'm going to use. For more accurate numbers, though, I highly recommend speedtest.net. That is the Ookla speed test. I'm not going to use that because it does show your IP address and your location and stuff like that. And I really don't want you people knowing where I live. So I'm not going to use that one. But that is the one I recommend. It will give you more accurate numbers. So all you need to do, go to the speed test, is you just run the speed test and let it run. And my numbers are going to be lower because I have a lot of shit open. I am live streaming and stuff like that. So please don't make fun of my internet speeds. But again, I don't care about the download because we're not downloading anything when you stream. You're uploading, you're using your bandwidth on the upload side. And this is the number that we need to concentrate on. So for my example, this one came up about 40. Typically, I'm more at about a 58 to 62. But because I'm already using some of that bandwidth to upload this stream and things like that, it's going to be a little bit lower. But this is the number we want right here. 40 megabytes per second is enough. It's obvious where you live, the magical land of Narnia. Yes, well, no doxing in my chat, please, Tweeter. Just don't tell people how to get here. I'm just kidding. So once you have that number, write it down, remember it, because we're going to come back to this number. I'm going to go ahead and write mine down, 40. We're going to come back to this later, and I'm going to explain why this number is important for setting up OBS. So once you have that, we are ready to go and open OBS again. So now I'm going to come in here, and we're going to open OBS again. And as you can see, not much has changed. Actually, nothing has changed. But if you were to click on the plus button under sources, we now have a new application audio output capture. And this is the Win Capture Audio plugin. Don't be confused. Remember, I told you it was going to be confusing. The application audio capture beta, the very top one here, is the built-in one on OBS because it is still in beta as well. Because both of them are technically in beta, it can be confusing to know which one to use. But the secondary version here, the application audio output capture, is the one that we're going to be using. That is the plugin that we downloaded. The next plugin that we downloaded was the source copy, right? So this is where the source copy is. Now, I don't have anything to show you just yet. And we're going to go, again, as we get through, we're going to go through these more one by one. But as you can see here, you go down to source copy. It's under the tools, which you can't see because of my chat. I apologize. You know what? Here. There we go. It's under the tools, source copy, and then we only have the default scene, which is called scene, right? But inside scene, I can save it, I can copy it, I can load it, I can paste it, or I can specifically choose all of the filters that are on that scene. Now, if I had sources inside that scene, they would also be listed here. And then I could have the same drop down for them. And I'll show you that when we get to it, but that's where that lives. The other one is the Scene Collection Manager. That's the one we downloaded that does the backups for you. And we'll cover that once we have some things to back up. And then the last one that we did, what the hell was it? I don't even remember now. I'm just kidding. The plugins for the move source, again, is what we're going to do. Once we have a source, I can show you how that is done, but we don't have that yet. So we're going to go that. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and set up that LUA just so we have it in there. So we're going to go back to tools and you're going to go to scripts. And because LUA is a script, so here we have scripts. You're going to get this little pop-up and you're going to click the plus button. And then you're going to go to wherever you installed that or downloaded that, that LUA script, the auto starter, and you're going to click open. And once it's there, you can see now we have all of these different options that come up on the right-hand side. And this, all you're going to do here is you're going to click the plus button and you're going to add a file and you're going to look for the exe file for whatever program it is that you wish to open. So in my instance, like I would do my streamer.bot, right? So I would find my streamer.bot exe, there it is, and I would click open, and then my scripts window, it's listed there. And then this is the little checkbox that I told you you can check, and it'll automatically close the streamer.bot when I close OBS. So that's all you have to do. You click close. Now that script is active. And when you open OBS, the streamer.bot in this case would open as well. Now, I don't want to use streamer.bot because I am using it and I don't want it to close. So I'm going to remove that one. What I will do, though, is I will add, let's say I can add, what's something that you can see? Oh, how about my live split, my speed run timer, okay? So we're going to come here. I'm going to say yes, open you. There it is. Okay, and then so just to show you, if we were to close OBS from there, and then open it again. As it opens, it then, as you can see, pops up, and there is my timer. So if I now then close OBS, it closes the timer as well. Some of the files it will not close. It will 99% of any exe file it will close. Some like the MSI files or other executable styles like the VTube Studio, it may not close them. VTube Studio, I do know for a fact it does close that. But there you have it. And that's all that little LUA script does. But it is a lifesaver, especially if you're one of those streamers that you have to open 4 or 5 different things every time you want to go live. But that's how you use it. And if you get a program, you no longer need to use it or whatever, you can just remove it from the list, and there you go. Okay, so that LUA is out of the way because that's all the setup that you need for that, and we're done with it. So now we need to configure OBS to fit our needs, fit our expectations, connect to our streaming service so that we can actually go live with it, because it doesn't know where to go live. I have the start streaming button here. If I were to press it, it has nowhere to stream to. So we're going to go through this little by little. And again, in chat, if you're live with me right now, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm talking a hell of a lot. Let me wet my whistle. Okay, whistle is wet. So how do we get to the settings? There are 2 ways to get to settings in OBS. One, you have a settings button right down here. And if you click it, you're going to go and open your settings. The other option is normal, file, settings. Same thing, doesn't matter which one you use, they go to the same place. Okay. When you open settings, you're going to always start on the general tab. And I'm going to try to position this so that everybody can see. And there we go. Look at that. Okay. So remember I told you the new versions, they have a lot of different themes. I believe Acri, yep, is the default. And look at it. Look at it. Yeah. Look how icky it makes everything. I don't like it. Anyway, this is all personal preference to you. I prefer the dark. This is the older, like version 25, 26 type of layout. It's just the one I got used to. The buttons are smaller a little bit. It just looks nice for me. But again, you have the options. These are all the themes that are built in. You can go through and pick whichever one you want. This is where you do it. The updates, I highly recommend that you leave the updates checked. All this is going to do is every now and then, if there is an update, you open OBS, there's going to be a pop-up and it's going to say, hey, we need to upgrade your OBS to the latest version. Here's what we've changed. Do you want to? And you can tell it, skip this version, download and install it right now, or remind me later. If you click remind me later, it'll wait until you've reopened OBS like 5 or 6 times before it pops up again. If you say skip this version, it will not remind you again until there is another update. And if you click the install now, it'll close OBS, it'll download the install, it'll install the upgrade, and then you can reopen OBS and have the latest and greatest version ready to go. So I highly recommend that you leave this on to stable, and that just keeps you from getting all of these little beta updates. But automatically check it on startup. I leave that. The output, I don't do any of these. I don't really care, but I want to cover a couple of things that are going to be highly important for you. One, OBS is a live streaming tool, yes, but it is also a recording tool. You can use OBS to record your screens, your scenes, your audio, your video, both combined. You can have everything that you do live on stream, including your sound alerts and your messages in chat and stuff like that. Record or stream or both. You can stream and record at the same time. And if that is something that you do, for example, if you know that you're going to go live on Twitch, but then you're going to upload the video to YouTube, kind of like I'm doing right now, You can, if that's something that you're going to do every time, you can come to this little output section under the general tab and automatically record when streaming. And check that little box. And every time you hit the start streaming button, it will automatically press the start recording button and you will have both. Okay. If it's something you only do once in a while, I don't recommend that you automatically do it because, as you can see down here, the buttons are real close together. So you can stream and then go down, start recording. Half a second later, you're not going to miss anything on your recording. And if you're worried about that, start recording and then go up and click streaming. But the other option that I wanted to point out is the keep recording when stream stops. Now, this is something that I have never used because I always end my recordings before I end my streams. But some people like to stream a certain thing, this one game or whatever, but they're making a recording for a YouTube video to cover something else, for example, or they want to make some, clips for TikToks and things like that. And they use the recordings for that. So this one will, when you hit the stop streaming button, if you have this checked and this checked, when you hit the start streaming, you'll stream and record at the same time. And when you click stop streaming, the recording will continue on. Those are options for you to keep in mind. They may be helpful for you. For the rest of these, just kind of look through and see what they do. If it's something that interests you, like the replay buffers and things like that, go ahead and feel free to toggle those on or off as needed. Below this, we have the source alignment snapping. And yes, we are going to go through all of these settings because they are important. The source alignment snapping, I will try to be a little bit quick on. Basically, when you're moving things around on the scene, which is this canvas right here, when you're moving things around on that, you can have it snap to the nearest thing. So if you're trying to get close and it'll snap, you can have it snap to the center of the screen or to the edges of the screen or none of it at all. If you don't like the snapping, turn it off. Simple. I like the snap, but only to the horizontal and vertical center. I like my things to be pixel perfect, and I try to get things close. And some of my scenes, some of my graphics and things like that need to be close but not touching. And the snap makes that frustratingly difficult. So I turn the edges and other sources off. Again, that is a personal preference based on your desires or what you need the functionality to be. This is where you find that. The projectors, I don't use projectors. You can use OBS on a PC to project to another screen. And then you can basically, like if you have 3 monitors, 4 monitors or whatever, you have OBS open on monitor 1, you can actually project the output of the canvas, which is, again, this is your canvas. This is where everything shows up. You can project that full screen on monitor 3. Or if you're connected wirelessly to other monitors or a projector source or a screen or whatever, you can have your OBS on the laptop or on your computer project that output to that source. And these are the options for that. So you can hide your cursor, you can make the project projectors always on top and that kind of thing right here. So you don't have to go into the right click or the context menus on those sources to change these. Those options are there as well, but this just kind of does it by default. I don't use them, so I leave them all off, and they are all off by default. The system tray, basically this is what happens when you minimize or close OBS. If you have the system tray enabled, it'll show the little icon in your taskbar. If you minimize a tray when started, means you open OBS, it will not open full screen. It'll just open, but stay in the taskbar. And then you can have it minimized to the system tray, which is that little icon, the caret, you click and it shows up there instead of the taskbar. For those of you like doing screen records or whatever, and you don't want the OBS logo showing, which I don't know why you wouldn't, but that option is there as well. The preview, this is just for you and what you're looking at. Leave everything default there. Again, and then studio mode, I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of people are going to tell you, and you might hear some tutorials and things like that talking about the greatness of studio mode, because studio mode, basically what studio mode will do is it'll take your canvas here and split it in two. One will be live and one will be not live. And people love it because they can work on the not live side while they're live and have to. One, it reduces your resource usage, or increases it, sorry, makes your computer run slower. 2, it's buggy. 3, it's confusing. 4, it takes up a lot of real estate that you need to make sure that your streams are looking as good as possible. I'm not going to berate you if you use it. I'm just going to recommend that you don't. It does have its uses. The negatives that I have found far outweigh the usefulness of it. So I don't do anything with that. I do leave the preview labels checked because sometimes you can click studio mode. Let me just show you real quick. I know it's going to be, but here's a button, studio mode. And now as you can see, I have 2 canvases. This is my preview. This is what's going on. And I have a lot of other controls in the middle and things like that. If you are using OBS Studio for high quality content studio output, like you're recording albums for a record label, or you're recording movies for a movie studio and editing videos for, you know, I don't know, PewDiePie or whatever, it may come in handy. For the everyday streamer, you're just going to confuse yourself. Stay away from it. Okay. And then finally, the multi-view. This is where you can switch between scenes. You can show your scene names and all this stuff. Leave all of these default. Really, again, the only thing I would change here is your updates, your theme, and then if you want to automatically record that, and then your snap to edges, snap to sources. Everything below that, leave default unless you actually need it. That's that. The next thing is the stream. Okay. And this is where we tell OBS what to connect to when we click the Start Streaming button. And you can pretty much stream from OBS to anywhere. Twitch, YouTube, Facebook Live, those are all the big ones, and they are all built in. And you see, this is a little drop-down menu right here. Let me bring this back down. Little drop-down menu. You have Twitch, we got the YouTube using the RTMPS method, Facebook Live, Restream IO, Twitter. If you click on Show All, as you can see, like I said, OBS can output to practically every streaming service that there is. Okay. We want Twitch because that's where we're streaming. You may choose YouTube. But we're going to cover Twitch because, hey, that's where we are right now. Hi, Twitch. I'm going to have more coffee. Now, as you can see, there are 2 buttons below when you select Twitch. Connect the account, which is the recommended version, or use a stream key. What's the difference, you asked, Bearded? Oh, I'm so glad you asked what the difference is. Here's what the difference is. If you use a stream key, you have to go to your Twitch dashboard, you have to log into it, go to the dashboard, you go to your settings, you go to your stream management, you find your stream key, you copy this long ass text, you come over here, you click stream key, you put the stream key in, right? And then once that's done, then you connect your account. Otherwise, you then, once your stream key is in, right? Well, I was telling you the differences, and my brain kind of forgot what I was telling you because I ran out of coffee, and now I'm thinking about not having coffee. Anyway, with the stream key, it will connect to Twitch. It works perfectly. There is no issues with it whatsoever. But it limits the inherent functionality of OBS, and that is the difference. If you connect your account, which is what I recommend and what OBS recommends, once that account is connected inside OBS, you now then have access to new docs. And a doc, which we will cover later, is things that you can put around the screen that include your Twitch chat. Check this out. There you are. Look at it. There's all you guys. There you are. Hi. right? Your Twitch chat is there in OBS natively. You also have access to your Twitch activity feed. So when you get a new follow, a new raid, a new, somebody cheers you some bits or something like that, and it shows up in your activity feed, that's right there in OBS. You don't even have to have your Twitch dashboard open anymore. You can also have your Twitch stats. So it'll tell you how long you've been live, how many viewers you have, things like that are on your Twitch dashboard. That's there too. And you also have access to the Twitch Stream Information tab. And this is the tab where you put your game title and your going live message and your tags and all that. And it's built into OBS now, only if you use the Connect account, which is why I recommend it. Because even if you don't use those docs, you're going to end up wanting to use one or two of them at some point. So what we're going to do first is we need to connect our account. So we're going to connect our Twitch account. It's going to bring up the authorization. This is where you're going to log in. I'm going to go ahead and log in. I need to get my password because it's 500. There is 500 characters long and not one that I can even remember. There it is. Okay, where'd my OBS go? There it is. Okay, and then so I'm going to come in and nobody look. Just kidding. So then I also, because you're a Twitch affiliate, for those of you that may not be a Twitch affiliate yet, it is required that you have two-factor authentication on your account. This can be SMS, email, or you can use an authenticator app, which is what I use. So that's why it's asking me for my token, because I have a token for my authentication app. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that in now. Nobody look. Just kidding. All right, it's expired now anyway. So now what happens now is once we're connected, you're going to get the service, the server that we're connected to. You can disconnect your account. We have some bandwidth test mode that we can check. And then some other options here. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, when you first open OBS, the very first time, and because we haven't and we're in portable mode, you didn't see that. It's going to take you through this entire process of connecting to the streaming service of your choice. And so you're going to go through all this in a little pop-up wizard. And I actually can make it do that. Let's go ahead and save that. So as you can see, now I'm connected to Twitch. So here's all of my docs, right? I'm going to go ahead and close those. We don't need to see them now. But this auto configuration wizard, this is what you're going to be met with. You can choose that I'm optimized for streaming and recording is secondary, which for most of us is going to be the option. Or you can optimize it just for recording, where streaming is not an issue. So it's not going to worry about things like your bandwidth. Or you're only going to be using it for virtual camera, which is also an option. You can use the OBS virtual cameras for things like, Zoom and your meetings and things like that, if you so desire. But we're going to leave that checked, and then you're going to go through next. The base canvas resolution, that is this. This is your canvas, and the resolution should be the resolution that you wish to use. I highly recommend 1920 by 1080. 1080p resolution with a 60 frames per second, if you can. If you are unsure if your CPU can handle that, which it should be able to, you can use either 60 or 30, but prefer 60 when possible option. That way it'll allow OBS to swap between the two. But if you have a pretty good or high-end CPU or GPU, I'm sorry, and I suggest anything, any RTX card or GeForce that's in the 30 series or newer, you should have no issues at all running that. Then you're going to click next. And this is where it's going to ask you what service you want to connect to. In our case, it was Twitch. We prefer the hardware encoding. You always want to use the hardware encoding if possible. It does take a little bit more CPU process, but it saves your bandwidth. And then estimate the bandwidth bit rate. And this is a little test where it's going to like send stuff out and test, kind of like we did on the Google, to find out what our upload speeds are. And then if you're already connected, we can click. So we're going to go ahead and do this. And as you can see, it's running through all of these checks. And then this is the bandwidth test. As you can see, it's doing its thing. And once it's done, it only takes a couple minutes here. And once it's done, it's going to show you the list of all the settings. Here you go. So this is where service we connected to Twitch. This is our bit rate. We got our hardware encoding. This is our canvas scale. We were able to get 50. Any of these that turn yellow, it'll show you you may want to lower your settings for. And then we just click apply settings. And then basically you're good to go kind of thing. But I like to fine tune all of my shit, right? So that's why we come here. And then now we're in the stream. So as you can see, not much has changed, right? But that's going to be the first thing you see. So go ahead and run that. And then we're going to fine tune after the configuration wizard is done. My fault for not telling you that at first. I just forgot about it because it's been so long. But that's not something you have to do every time. These are all settings going to be one-time set and forget. For the server, I always recommend right now, and I will do a tutorial later on what these servers mean and how to find the best one for you, but leave it on auto, and that'll give you the one with the highest quality signal as well as the lowest latency based on your geographical location. You have the disconnect account option if you want to, oh my God, I don't want to stream on Twitch anymore. I'm moving over to YouTube or Kick or TikTok or whatever. You can just disconnect the account and then choose a new service and go from there. The bandwidth test mode, this is something that you can do through Twitch and a couple other services that will allow you to go live without going live. Most of the time you need your stream key as well as a little code at the end of it. This will do that for you, kind of thing. So leave that unchecked. And then the Twitch add-ons, this is for your Twitch chat. If you did connect automatically, like I said, you have the Twitch chat. These are just the emote services. Better Twitch TV and Franker Faces are both included in OBS by default. So I suggest you see those. That way, when somebody uses those emotes in your chat, they do show up in your chat as those emotes. And as you can kind of see here, there's some there that are showing up that are not native to Twitch because of this setting. And then right now we're going to click on ignore streaming service setting recommendations. I'm going to tell you why. We're going to get to that in just a second, but go ahead and click that, make sure that it's checked. Because here's the thing. Twitch is going to tell you, okay, the maximum bit rate that they allow is 6,000 kilobytes per second. For audio, they allow 320 kilobytes per second, which is like the max for output. I'm not an audio engineer, so don't yell at me if I say shit wrong about audio stuff. I know enough to be dangerous, and we move on from there. So, however, things Twitch may not want you to know is that that is kind of a lie. Okay? If you are new to the platform, if your account is like less than a month old, if you are a non-affiliate, so you haven't reached your affiliate status yet, you are limited to 6,000 kilobytes per second. You're only going to get between 5,700 and 6,200. Okay. Once you make affiliate, they quietly and without telling you at all increase your bitrate limit for your streams up to 8,000 kilobytes per second. If you make partner, you get 10,000. Okay. I don't recommend going to the limit, so don't try that. Do not try it. because it is not guaranteed. It will fluctuate. And if you set your settings too high, which we'll cover in a minute, it can cause your stream to crash. But keep that in mind. You are not limited to 6,000 kilobytes per second. Okay. So the next thing we now have, we have our service connected. We're going to go ahead and click apply. We're going to go to the output. And when you click on the output, you're going to be met with this super simple little streaming, recording. This is da-da-da. We want to go up here and click on advanced because we want more control. More control means better quality, higher end output, and a more professional look. Okay. But I do need more copy. So before we cover this, go ahead and click on advanced and then
Thanks for the raid, Juneflies
just wait because I'll be right back.
And welcome you to
I'm
lovely
thirsty.
people.
I need coffee. All right. Love you guys. Woot, 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 woot. I heard that. June the Wise, welcome in. Thank you for the raid. How are you doing, my friend? It's so good to see you. Welcome to my first ever tech stream. Good evening. Good evening. In case you missed it, I had a really long eyelash that poked me in the eye. Welcome to class. Thank you, Betweener. Yeah, we're covering OBS install setup. We've downloaded and installed OBS and 4 plugins in an LUA script. And now we're going over the settings. So welcome in. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for bringing your wonderful and loving community over to see me. Hi, guys. For the quick and dirty, I am Bearded Ink. I am normally a horror game speedrunner. I speedrun Pokemon Baldur's Gate. I love playing co-op horror games solo. I also play with other people, of course. And every Sunday, starting today, and every Sunday moving forward, we will be doing tech tips. So I'm going to be covering OBS and Twitch and StreamerBot and other bots and YouTube and all kinds of streaming stuff. So yeah, welcome in. Thanks for coming in. I hope everything is doing well. And with the raid, oh, thank you. Yeah. I try to be everywhere and everything, you know? I don't really, but those are the things I enjoy. So that's what I stream. But, you know, thank you for the raid. And if you need to go do your post-stream care, you know, if you need to get your snacks, if you need to dehydrate or rehydrate, walk the dog, you know, take a nap, whatever, I fully understand. But otherwise, feel free to hang out and, you know, participate in class if you like, ask questions. We're covering everything in the settings menu of OBS right now. We've just connected it to the Twitch account, and we're going to go through all of that. You want to learn game design as a kid? Yeah. Didn't everybody? I think everybody wants to build a game. I used to build my games in Flash. That's how old I am. We're not going to talk about that. And I'm going to have another sip of coffee. All right. So what we did was we clicked on the output tab and we changed it from the simple crappy view to the advanced view. And we're going to run back to front because it's easier that way. So the back tab is the replay buffer. Now the replay buffer, basically what happens is this: if you have your replay buffer enabled, you can set the maximum replay time and it can set a hotkey, and you have to be recording. But what it'll do is it will run back. So in this instance, if I enable it, it's set to 20 seconds. It will run back 20 seconds and replay that last 20 seconds and then jump ahead. I don't use replay. A lot of people do, especially they have like, you know, little channel point redeems and stuff like that, or for their making their clips or whatever. You can jump the stream back. To me, it's a lot of hassle for a lot of nothing. But that's a personal preference, and everybody's going to have a different need. So if you do need that replay buffer, this is where you find it. And again, if you remember the simple view, this is your option right here. You can check it. With the advanced, you can set how many seconds and things like that. You always wanted to make models. They told you you're never going to have the patience. And yeah, you make some incredible VR chat models and stuff. They look great. So moving on, audio. Now, here's the one thing I want to tell you right now. OBS comes with 6 tracks of audio. 6. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're going to use 3. And I'm going to explain that why. Remember that first plugin, the Wind Capture Audio that I told you about? This is where it's going to start coming into play, okay? So the first thing you want to do is remember that our settings for Twitch were maximum of 320 kilobytes per second audio output. So by default, when you come here, everything is going to be set to like 120 or 160. I don't remember. I think it's 128. You want to come through. If you are streaming to Twitch, and this is important, so if you are not streaming to Twitch and you're here watching this on the YouTube or on the VOD, YouTube does not allow 320 kilobytes audio. They limit you to 128 flat across the board. So if you change these, like I'm about to tell you to change them, and you have connected your stream account to YouTube instead of Twitch, you're going to get a warning when you click on start streaming that says your settings do not match, please correct. This is what it's talking about, okay? So you need to leave these default if you are streaming to YouTube. For any other service, especially Twitch, come in, make them maximum, set them to 320, and click apply. All 6 tracks. Do it for all of them, as you can see I have done here. 320 on all of them. And that's all you have to do. Again, just to reiterate, if you are on YouTube, leave this as default as it comes and don't change a thing because it will not work for YouTube. Now we're going to go to the recording tab. Remember, I told you OBS also records and you can record while live. This is going to give you all of the control over your recordings. And there's a couple things I want to point out, okay? So the first thing I want to point out is that you need to pick where you're going to save your videos to when you record, and you're going to need to pick the format. If you, by default, okay, OBS will record to the MKV file extension type, which works for most things. VLC will play it, Windows Media will play it. You can upload them, but they aren't the best, right? MP4 is a little bit better, but the thing with MKV that we love is that if something happens, if your recording glitches or OBS kind of freezes and stutters for a minute, and you're recording, if you're recording to MP4 format, the recording stops, that file's corrupt, and you've lost everything. With the MKV, it records and processes and renders as it goes. So when that stutter happens, it just kind of stops. It waits for the stable connection again, and then it continues on. So if you are very unstable or unlucky, you may want to leave it as MKV, and then once you have the MKV, you can convert it to an MP4 later on. And actually, OBS can do that for you. So you're going to output the file, you're going to tell it where to go, you're going to generate a file name without spaces if you want to, whatever you want. The default format, this is where you can pick your audio and video type. What do you want it to be? This is where I highly recommend that you go to the MP4. There you go. The MUX settings, if any, you don't have any. This is the big one right here. The video bitrate. By default, if I remember right, this is going to be set to either 2500 or 6000. I don't remember. But because you're recording, you're not using bandwidth. We're not relying on the internet speeds. We're relying on your computer. So if you have 1632 gigabytes of RAM or more, if you have a lot of hard drive space and you have a very good to decent I think my dog just popped. Oh, he threw his ball against the wall. I heard him. My dog walked away. I thought he popped. Anyway, if you have a decent to great GPU, your recordings can be ultra high quality with this setting alone. So come in here and change this to 35,000. Go nuts with it, because the higher the number, the higher quality the output is going to be. 35,000 is a very good number if you don't know what your bit rate should be. 25 to 35,000, not 100,000, is a good place to start. Check the quality. If you like it and everything runs smooth and your computer's not melting down, you're good to go, right? If you need to adjust it, do so here. Again, audio bitrate, change that to 320 because you're not uploading, you're not directly streaming right to YouTube, so you can have your audio to 320 here on the recording. And this is the important one right here. For the audio track, set your recording to track number 3. And we're going to cover why in just a second, but this is what you need to do. Change or check number 3, and you can check more if you want. And this is where this is where OBS becomes confusing to people, because it is a all-inclusive studio, right? It is designed to be more than just a streamer's paradise, which is what it is. It is also designed for high quality production level output, right? So people that record albums like Def Jam Records and shit like that use OBS Studio. I mean, they use a whole bunch of other shit too, but OBS is in there. So you may need to record to different tracks. So you may have like 2 microphones, and one will be on track 1, the backup singer's on track 4. You know, you have your electric guitar needs his solo time, so he's going to be on track 5, that kind of thing. For a streamer though, you don't really need it. If you need it, there's the option, but you don't need it. Check number 3 and let's move on. Now we're going to go to the streaming tab, which is the default tab that you land on. And as you can see, the first thing it's going to ask us is about these audio tracks, which is why number 3 was important before. Now, when you have an audio track on the streaming settings, you see that it's radio buttons and not checkboxes. You can only have one. Okay, so the first one, audio track, this is what Stream hears when you're live. Whether you're on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, doesn't matter. When you click go live or start streaming, the audio that Stream hears is what's on track number 1. So what you're hearing me talk right now is track number 1. Now, the Twitch VOD track, you'll see this option comes up if you've connected to your Twitch account. You can enable it or disable it, right? I highly recommend that you enable it and put the VOD track to track number 2. As you can see, I've done here. So now we have track 1, which is live, and what you're hearing now, and track 2 is what's uploaded with the VOD on Twitch. Now, why would I want this? Well, there are some things that Twitch doesn't allow, such as copyright music from Spotify or Pandora or YouTube or other things of that nature. However, Twitch, I've said it before, I'm just being coy, but Twitch doesn't have the manpower, the resources, or the capability to check every second of every live stream that is currently going on at any time ever. They will pop into a live stream every now and then just to check things, right? But the odds that they pick you at that particular time are so slim to none. Slim just left. So I can't say 100%. What I will tell you is 95% chance you're not going to get caught. But you have to have your settings correct. So what Twitch does for their copyright strikes and their muted sounds and things like that is they check your VODs, because the VODs aren't going anywhere. They can run them through the AI algorithms to check for certain things, And if it's flagged, it's manually reviewed by a human and goes, oh my God, yeah, they were listening to Dua Lipa and we need to do something about that. If it's not there, audio track 1, VOD track 2, recording track 3, your encoder. If you see this X264, that is a software that is coming. You're encoding your graphics using your CPU. Okay? Don't do that. Use your GPU. That's why you have a graphics processing unit to encode the graphics. Use it. Rescale output. I rescale my output. As you can see, my stream looks pretty fairly decent, right? I'm streaming at 864 resolution. I'm not 1080p. I'm not even 900p. Why? Because 864 is still high definition, but it uses about 30% less resources on my computer than 1080p, and you don't notice a difference. That's why. You don't have to, right? You can record and stream at 1080p all day long if that's what you want to do. I normally have so many things open. I need every little bit of CPU processing power that I can have, especially when I'm doing a speed run, because I have the timers. If I'm doing a Pokemon speed run, right, I have the Squirtle manipulation apps running. I have all the programs open. I have the Google Doc sheets and my tracking. Everything's open and running. So that's why I downgrade my output. Now we're going to cover this under the video tab as well, but this is for stream. So if you click this box here, thank you. If you click this box here, it will tell you, yes, we want to rescale the output, right? And then you can use your drop down to get a list of possibilities that you can rescale. There's 720p, 810, 864, 1080. Some of you will have other options. If you have a 4K monitor, for example, you'll have higher resolutions or different options. Pick the one you like and check it. I do 864. I recommend most people use that because it just saves you, like I said, up to 30% of your CPU resources just from doing that. You know, one button, and again, as you can see on stream, nobody's going to notice a difference, right? Everything's there. And then the other big thing right here, again, the bit rate. Remember I was telling you before, if you are not an affiliate, you're limited to that 6,000, but it's going to fluctuate between 5,700, 6,300, about in that area. If you are an affiliate, you can have up to 8,000 kilobytes per second. I do not recommend going over 7,000 kilobytes at any time ever. If you go over this, if you go over 7,000, you're going to get the little red dot on OBS down at the bottom. You're going to get, Twitch is going to tell you, oh, your encoding is, but they're not going to do anything about it because you do have that bandwidth allowability. I set mine to 68. I recommend you start yours, if you are unsure, at about 65. Now, remember when we did that speed test earlier and I told you to write down that download speed that you got? Mine, in this case, because I was running everything, was like 40 megabytes per second or whatever it was. This is where it's going to come into play. So you got to think about what it is that you're doing, and you got to subtract that number from your upload speed, or your upload speed that you had before, right? So just connecting to Twitch and going live is going to take about 6,000 to 8,000 kilobytes. A normal game, and I'm not talking like MMOs and World of Warcraft that use a lot of bandwidth. I'm talking just like a normal Steam game that you open up and you play while you're live on stream is going to be between 5,000 and 6,000 kilobytes per second. Anytime you have a bot, a local, anything running, your browser open, if you're tabbed up other streamers, that's going to take bandwidth as well. Anything that you have connected to the internet is going to take bandwidth. On average, a streamer is going to use, with default settings, between 10 and 18 megabytes per second. So if you are on like the lower end of that upload speed where you're at like 10 to 20 megabytes per second, leave that at 6,000, call it a day, be happy that you have a decent looking stream. If you are above 30 megabytes per second, you have a little bit more room to play with and fluctuate in. And that's why I recommend you take advantage of that unheard of, Twitch is not going to announce it, higher bandwidth limit for affiliates and partners. Jump in at about 6,500, go live a couple times, watch your own VOD, check it out. How was the quality? How did it look? Did it stutter at all? Was there a lot of buffering? If so, start lowering it down. If not, bump it up a couple hundred and then check again. Mine, I feel comfortable at about 6,800. You might be 70 or 6,700. You might be 6,300. But anything over 6,000 is just going to make your stream that much better, that higher quality. And this works on YouTube as well, not just Twitch, although Twitch does handle the bandwidth changes a little bit better than YouTube does. The rest of this stuff, you want to set high quality. The 2 passes, the profile is high. Some of you may find that there's a lot of stuttering, buffering, closing down. Turn off the psycho visual tuning. Just uncheck the box. Basically what psycho visual tuning does, and I'll read it from the little thing here, if it'll show me, where'd it go? Enables encoder settings that optimize the use of bitrate for increased perceived visual quality, especially in situations with high motion at the cost of increased GPU utilization. Basically what that means is the psycho visual tuning is going to upscale your graphics using your own graphics card to push out a higher output. And it can cause a lot of CPU and GPU usage. So if you notice that your fans start kicking on and are running high or whatever, or your game is lagging, come in here and turn this off. GPU should always be 0. Max B frame should always be 2. Don't ask. You don't need to know. Leave them at default. Click apply, and let's move on. Next is the audio. Again, I'm not an audio engineer, but there are things that I do know, and here's what I do know. Most of your default microphones in Windows 11, your USB microphones, are going to output at 44.1 kilohertz. Some of the other ones will record at 48 kilohertz. And yes, you can go into your Windows settings and change which one you choose. However, it is important if you're having microphone issues from being heard or being too loud or even being too quiet, these numbers have to match. Okay? Because if you're recording through your microphone at 44.1, Gravitas, how are you? Welcome in. If you're recording at 44.1 kilohertz and OBS is trying to pull in 48, it's only going to make you quieter, more garbled, sound like you're in a tin can, etc., right? So you want these to match. I have my microphone set to 48 kilohertz per second. That's why my sample rate is 48 kilohertz per second. However, for those of you with lower end PCs, here's a little trick. And yes, I found this out the hard way. Change your microphone, and you can just Google microphone settings to 44.1, Windows 11, Windows 10, whatever version you're using. And it'll show you all the steps to go right click on the speaker icon, choose your sound setup, find your microphone. I'm not going to go through all that right now. That's for another day. But change it to 44.1. Come into OBS and change it to 44.1. You will need to restart OBS for this change to take effect, so you can't do it while you're live or recording. But once you restart OBS, it will then be at 44.1. If you do that, that one little change will actually save you about 14 to 20% of most lower end CPUs, their capabilities. So it opens up a little bit more of your CPU just from that. And yes, Gravitas, thank you. I was just about to say that. Unless you are in an audio studio, in a sound booth, recording an album or doing a voiceover for movies, the human ear cannot tell the difference between 44.1 and 48. So you are not losing any quality for your viewers based on that. You're going to save resources and nobody's going to know. It's similar to what we did before with the video, where we changed the rescale output from 1080p to 864. The eyes of your viewers can't tell the fucking difference. Yes, there is a difference. We as humans can't perceive that difference. So why waste resources for something that's never going to be certain? And yeah, and as Gravitas says, even if you have 2K headphones and a 5K DAC, you're not going to hear it. There's no way for the human ear to tell an audible difference between those 2 kilohertz. We just can't do it. We don't have that capability. Now your dog may, but he's not watching the stream anyway, so who cares? Yeah, exactly. So you're going to save your bandwidth. You're going to save some CPU resources. And the lower end quality PCs, you can stream with high quality output. You just have to know what to do. And this is one of those tiny little easy, simple things that you can do to make those changes. Obviously, you can choose a mono stereo for both ears, or if you do happen to have surround sound output, this is where, or surround sound input, I'm sorry, this is where you can change to for 4.1, 5.1, 7.1 surround sounds. I suggest you always leave it on stereo because the odds are that most people that are watching your streams are either going to have it coming through their monitor speakers or their headphones. They're not sitting in a room with you on the big screen watching in full surround 7.1 Dolby Digital surround sound. So why bother outputting to that? Because it's not really going to matter. Now your games, obviously, right, like your games have surround sound capabilities, but you're streaming the game. You're not, performing the game live in other people's living rooms. They can deal with stereo quality sound from a game. Now, remember when we first opened OBS, we had these 2 audio. You can see when I talk, the microphone, the mic aux, and then the desktop audio, right, all coming through. This is where these are right here. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to show you this right now. And if you do anything different, I'm going to come to your house. I'm going to poop in your driveway. Okay? By default, desktop audio and the mic auxiliary audio are on. Everything else is disabled. This is if you have multiple, again, studio recordings and stuff, multiple audios, multiple inputs, things like that. You would need to enable these. You're going to come in right here, disable. You're going to go to your mic and you're going to disable. Every single one of these should be disabled. Why? Why, Bearded? Why would I take away my default microphone and my audio coming into my desktop and not output those? Because we want the control. We are going to add these in just a moment manually with much more control. And as you know, everybody likes control, right? Well, depends on the topic. Anyway. The meters can be left fast and sample peak. That's fine. I do suggest that you always do it on fast. The monitoring device, this is what you hear from. I'm not really going over audio splitting, and I did make the disclaimer, I am not an audio engineer. I know enough to be dangerous. But yes, we do have the plug-in to do the split audio, and that is coming up. So if you are interested in having more control over the audio on your streams, you popped in at the right time. But yes, the advanced mode here, monitoring device, this is where you're going to have your monitors or your headphones or whatever it is. You can select those. Now, I leave mine on default, and that's just a personal preference. I suggest you check this and choose whatever it is that you are going to be listening to, your sound alerts, your notifications, your game, and all of that on while you're streaming. Go ahead and select it. So if that's your headset or your speakers, select it here. And no matter what happens and what settings you have on in Windows, OBS will use that setting. I change mine, which is why I leave it on default. So before I open OBS, and this is what an important note for some of you that are looking for troubleshooting. Once you open OBS, all of those scriptings are run and it goes through everything, all of these settings, and it checks everything out. With a notepad? Hey, you don't need a notepad. You just need to be here listening and you know, have some questions if you have any questions. But the VOD will be there for 60 days. And I also will be posting the edited versions of these on my YouTube channel, which will be there forever. So you can go back, you can pause, you can go get the downloads, you know, and stuff like that and follow along. But I'm glad you're enjoying it, and thank you for the comments. I appreciate that. But yes, what was I saying? Oh, right, the default. When OBS loads up, whatever these settings are, that's what's loaded in. So if I have these on speakers, right, and I load OBS up, and then I go, oh shit, I'm running it off of my monitor today, and I go into my default or to my Windows, and I change it from my speakers to my head or to my monitors there. OBS is still going to output to my speakers. Likewise, if I have set to my monitors, and I want, oh, today I'm playing a really, you know, intense game, and I want the surround sound, I want the headset on, and I'm listening to my chat, and I don't want output going to my microphone or whatever, and you don't change it in OBS, once you open OBS, you're going to hear your game and all that through your speakers, but all of your alerts and shit are going to start coming from your monitors, and you're going to be really confused as to why. This is why. So again, I highly recommend that you leave this to whatever it is. If you always use headphones when you stream, put it on your headphones and leave it there. Otherwise, leave it on default. But again, remember, when it's on default, it is what is default for your operating system at the time OBS is opened. So if you make a change, you're going to have to close OBS and reopen it to get it to change. Okay. Again, I leave mine on default for that reason, because like when I do my recordings and things like that, I'm not wearing my headphones and I need that input. Disable Windows auto ducking, again, is another one that I recommend that you check. Basically what auto ducking is, if you don't know, short version, multiple inputs. So take, for example, you're playing a co-op game with your friends and you're all on Discord, right? When your friends talk and you're talking, Windows notices, hey, there's another input coming in. And if your output is always going to take priority. So if you talk and your friends talk, it's going to lower those volumes so that you remain priority. And it makes shit sound horrible because it also does your games. It does, it's going to do your music. So anything else, but every time you talk, that volume is going to get lowered and then it's going to come back. And it's really jarring for your viewers. So we are going to take control of our audio, right? That's what we got the plugin for. That's why we're going through these settings and disabled all this so that we can have the right volumes at the right spots in the right times and all of this. So disable Windows auto ducking because we don't want those fluctuating levels, right? This is better than the cost-effective alternative to people debating using Skillshare. Oh. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I am glad you are here, Drew. Thank you for stopping in. Hotkeys, you can enable push to talk on your desktop audio and mic aux, but guess what? We have them disabled. So guess what you don't need to use? Hotkeys. Why enable push to talk to something that's not even there? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and apply this tab, which you don't have to do. You can apply once when we're all done, but it's just a habit of mine. Okay, so remember I talked about earlier how we had our output resolution scaled down to 864 on our stream. This is when you want to do it to save your GPU, is on the video tab. So our base canvas resolution, again, this is your canvas, this black screen that has nothing on it right now. This is what stream will see. This is what your recordings will show. Anything outside this box right here, this little black box, anything that hangs over the edge will be cut off, right? This is your canvas. This is your painting area. I always recommend 1920 by 1080. I don't care if you have a 4K monitor. I don't care if you're using an old CRT monitor from my high school days in 1912. 1920 by 1080 should be the base canvas resolution. Why, Bearded? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Well, the reason why is because anything that you do add later, such as widgets, stream elements, add-ons, your alerts, things like that, are going to be scaled for a 1080p resolution by default. And it's a lot easier to get everything to line up and resize if it's already coming in knowing it's on a 1080p canvas. Okay, that's the only reason. So we're going to take our output, which is the scaled resolution and what goes out from our PC to the live stream or to the recording. And this is where we're going to make it match what we picked before. So I have it on 864. That's what I'm going to choose here. Now, everything is going to be output in 864, and my GPU is going to go, thanks. And you're welcome, because I want you to last a long time, little buddy. The downscale filter should always be bicubic. Landscos is the other option. No, I am not a graphics genius. I don't know the differences. Ask your question, Gravitas. I'm right here. Feel free. Pop it in chat. Leave it at bicubic, and your common FPS, again, you can do 59.4. I recommend just leaving it at 60. It'll fluctuate a little bit, but leave it there. Why 864 and not 720? Right. I did cover that earlier, but you weren't here yet. Basically, the two resolutions that everybody knows is 720 and 1080, right? 720p is the bottom lowest level to qualify as high definition. 1080p is the, well, 10 years ago was the upper echelon of, high definition video. Now we have 2K, 4K, 8K. They're coming out with 32K in a couple months. All that crap bullshit that, I don't need to see an actor's individual pores. I don't care that much. But anyway, 1080p takes a lot of resources to maintain. It's a big area with a lot of motion and a lot of color changes, and they can be very taxing for some GPUs and some CPUs. Similar to the 44.1 and the 48 kilohertz in the audio range, the difference between 1080p and 920, 900, or not 920, 910, 900, and 864 is virtually imperceptible. It is still considered ultra high definition, but it takes about 10 to 30% less resources to output. That's the only reason. So if you're on a PC right now watching my stream and you hover over the video, there's a little cogwheel that pops up that says settings. If you click on that, you'll see there's a little quality list, and it'll say 864p, 60 frames per second, and as the source. So that's how you know right now I am outputting at 864. But can you tell? No. But my CPU and my GPU aren't even making noise right now. And if I look at my stats, I'm running 0.46% of my CPU right now. And I'm live. And I have OBS open twice. So that's why. Exactly. Stream at 1080p, use the 864p option to save your video card. And that's basically the only reason. A lot of people don't need to. I do. I have a fucking 3080, so it's not like I can't use it, but why when there's no real difference, And I did a whole week where I played a sports games, I played high action games, I played low level games, I played indie horror, all at 1080p. And then I played those same games again the following week, and I did it at 864, and I watched the VODs side by side, and there was no difference. So, that's why. But the video tab is real short, but that's why. Output scaled, again, the base canvas is what you see. That's what everything aligns to. And then the output is what that is rescaled and what you see on your streams or on your recordings. So that's it for the video tab. Hotkeys I'm going to skip over. Everybody kind of knows what a hotkey is. If you don't, it's a key combination on your keyboard to trigger something else happening. And no problem. Yeah. Have I done the FPS one, or is that coming? I kind of covered FPS, but not really. I always recommend doing 60 FPS if possible. The settings for OBS are limited, so you can have. I mean, you can check, 10, 20, 25, whatever. But 29.97 if you're going to go 30. If you're only going to stream at 30, I recommend 29.997 instead of the direct 30 because it is more compatible with the jumping and the lagging that higher speed motions have. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. It's just something that happens. Likewise, the 59.94, go to 60. But when you're doing your initial setup and through the configuration wizard, it'll ask you if you know that I may not have 60 frame capability at all times. There is an option that you can where'd it go? During this test here, there's an option to set. I prefer 60, but use 30 if needed, right? And so you can choose that instead if you are unsure. But otherwise, just come in here, click on 60, and let it go, right? You're not gonna miss anything. But if you do notice that your computer or your games or whatever need that lower level to function properly, you can come in here and drop it down to 29.97 and go from there. But again, and thank you for the question. Again, hotkeys, real quick. You need something to happen. You don't want to go through all these menus and try to find it. You can set a hotkey to it. One of the big ones is to you start or stop your recording or start or stop your streaming. So I can come in here if I wanted to, and I can say, oh, if I click, I don't know, Control Alt U, Control Alt U S, I don't know, whatever, right? Come up something. I don't know. I don't use them. I don't use hotkeys. But this is where you would set all your hotkeys. And anytime you add something, a source, a scene to OBS, it will have its own hotkey pop up. So as you can see, we have the one default scene, and then I have a hotkey. I can use a hotkey to switch to that scene. I don't use it. I use my bot to control my stream, and we'll cover the bots in another week, obviously. But anytime you add something to your scene or to a source, it will have a hotkey option, and you'll find that here. So this list will grow, and you will actually scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. And if it'll let me, I will show you. There we go. This is the one for the OBS that I'm using to stream on now. And as you can see, I have a lot of shit on my scenes. I have a lot of things going on in OBS, and we're scrolling for days. And I can set a hotkey for each one of them if I were so inclined. I don't know why I'm still scrolling. I have a lot of shit going on, right? So don't be afraid that, oh my God, this is all that there is, because everything that you add later will have its own hotkey. And so if you do need to use hotkeys for something, this is where you find it. Handicap accessibilities. I don't know the correct political term for that. So handicap accessibilities. This is your visual acuity and stuff like that. If you need, your colors changed, whatever. I leave all these default because I don't really care, but some people have a hard time, if you're colorblind or things like that, and you need to know, like here, this is a good one, the mixer volume bands. So when you have your microphone, it changes from green to yellow to red. If you can't see the green or you can't see the red, you can change these colors, and you can come in and you just use different colors. It'll ask you which one you want to select. You know what colors you can see or want to see or like to see. It's not just for color blindness or anything like that. People like their own colors, right? So you get something you're used to. This allows you to change it. And then finally, we're almost done with the settings, guys. Almost. We're going to go to the advanced tab, and this one isn't very long. First, general, process priority, always set to high. OBS should have the highest priority of anything to prevent problems in the future. Now, I'm going to show you a little trick in just a second to help with that, but it can get kind of annoying. So some people don't like to do it. But so you're going to come in here and you're going to go high, show active outputs warning on exit. That means basically if you close, because on high priority, not everything closes at the same time. So if you go to close OBS and there's other things that are still running that are relying on it, like your stream, for example, if you forget to click stop streaming, it's going to say, hey, we're still doing shit over here, man. You sure you want to close, bro? Like, maybe think about it a second or two, and it'll let you know like what's still running, and you go, oh, hi, chat, I'm still here, whatever. And it happens to the best of us. I've done that. I've gone, okay, bye, chat, and done the raid and click closed, and then realized that I was still streaming my empty chair as I went to make some fried chicken for like an hour on my stream. It happens, but pretty much everything else here can be left default without issue. DirectX 11, some of you will have the DirectX 12 beta option. I think they got rid of that with the last two updates, but if you still see it there, I don't recommend it. Not yet, not quite ready. The color format, leave it at NV12, your color space 709, your color range limited. Trust me, don't ask why, because I don't have the why answer, just the knowledge of I've tried every single different one and these are the best and they're default. And if you know enough to know what to change these to, you don't need me to explain it to you. So if you need me to explain it to you, leave it default. I'm just going to put it like that. The file name formatting. So this is for when you record. When you make a recording, instead of saying, oh, this is Bearded's recording.mp4 or whatever, it's going to have its own date time format. So we're going to do month, day, hour, minute, second .mp4 or whatever. If you hover over, as you can see, you'll get a list of all the abbreviations that you can use. Or you can just come in here and type something in, test record, and then do like percent, what was it? DD will do the day of the month. So if I only record once a week, I could use this, and then my things would say, oh, it's a test record for Wednesday. Otherwise, just leave it default, because if you do recordings a lot, and you're gonna, oh shit, stop that recording and immediately start again because I fucked something up, but I need what I already recorded for when I edit my YouTube video later. Y'all can hear the helicopter going overhead, shaking my house. Then that date timestamp is down to the second, can be very important to tell which video is which. So keep that in mind. I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. But the replay buffer, if you have a replay, it saves that replay. As we talked about earlier, for that 20 seconds or whatever, it will actually save it as a recorded file, and you can give it a name. Not a name, I'm sorry, a prefix or a suffix. And then this button right here, remember I told you to record in the MKV format by default is what OBS does. You can change that and it's fine. But if you don't, you would need to convert that MKV to an MP4. And I told you that OBS had that ability. Ta-da! Where's that? Right here. This is where you do it at. So automatically remux to MP4. So that means when I'm recording it as an MKV, and again, only MKV, as soon as I click that stop recording button, that MKV is stored, loaded back into OBS, and OBS then begins converting it from MKV or MKV to MP4. Once that conversion is done, then you can close OBS. So you're going to have to like walk away, depending on how long the recording is, for a little while. But it saves you from having to like use another program to convert, like VLC or an online service or whatever to convert to an MP4. And also, this is what's pretty cool. You can take previous MKV files on your hard drive and use OBS to remux them into MP4 automatically. You don't even have to play them. It just does it. So that's an option if you have some MKV videos, and we'll maybe cover that in another week. That's beyond basic setup, but I wanted to cover that option here because we're going through all the settings so you know what everything is and does. And if you haven't noticed, I'm doing the pee-pee dance, so we're going to try to hurry this last little bit up so I can go potty. Stream delay. This is for those of you that may have things going on before you actually stream. So, like, for example, I have on my streams, if you've seen, I have a little funny movie intro that's followed by some audio clips that's followed by my actual starting soon screen intro. And then I have an 8-minute countdown because I like to run my 3 minutes of ads during that starting soon screen so that we don't get any pre-roll ads while we're streaming. It's only the mid-roll ads, and it's only once an hour. Again, I've covered that before on YouTube, and we'll leave that alone. But some people like me, they have a lot of things that they got to do. I got to start my bot. I've got to change to this right scene. I've got to start the timer. I've got to start the video, et cetera, right? And so sometimes I click start streaming and I'm not quite ready. Oh, well, what do I do? Because Twitch has already sent out my going live message. It's already, people are already getting the email or the notification on their browser, right? And I don't have my timer going. I forgot. So if you're one of those people like me, you can click this enable on the stream delay. And basically what it's going to do is you're going to click start streaming, and it's still going to go live. It doesn't delay all of that, but it gives you a buffer of 20 seconds or whatever. And so it'll say, okay, you click start streaming, and it's going to go for 20 seconds, right? So I don't know if you see my hands. So you click start streaming, and it's going to start going for 20 seconds or whatever you set that to. At that 20-second mark, then you're actually going to go live. And then it's going to maintain that 20-second buffer until you stop going live. So people are still going to see the mistakes that you made. It's just going to be delayed, but it gives you that chance to catch up with yourself. So by default, they're off. I recommend leaving it off unless you know that you're going to need that buffer to fix a mistake, whatever. And you can also make, again, cutoff points. It does increase the delay, and it will. So that's something to keep in mind, and why I keep it off because of that extra added delay. So when some chat sees something, right, on your stream, they're going to react right then. They type a message in chat. They click send. From the time that actually happened to the time your viewer saw it, by default on Twitch's end is anywhere between 2 and 5 seconds. And then they've got to send the chat, and then you've got to see it, and then you've got to react to it. So from the time I say hi, and you say see or hear me say hi, and you type hi in chat, and then I see your hi, and I say, oh, how are you? We're talking, a course of anywhere between 5 and 15 seconds, depending on the Twitch servers. If I add a 20-second buffer to that, now we're talking about 35 seconds possibly between hi and how are you, and that's no good for a live streamer. Now on your recordings and things like that, it might help, okay? But that's, personal preference. Automatically reconnect, yes, and yes again. Every now and then you're going to lose internet connection. OBS is going to stall. Twitch is going to twitch. Things like that. Enable your automatic connection. 2 seconds. Retry it at least 20 times. But basically what happens is if you lose internet connection or something happens to break that connection between OBS and your streaming service, OBS will automatically try to reconnect every 2 seconds until it makes that connection or runs out of tries. And if it can't, then it'll shut down and be like, you're fucked, dude. You know? But if it does, you automatically reconnect. You don't have to click start streaming, stop streaming, start streaming, start. You know, it does it automatically for you. So we're good to go there. Everything else below this is pretty much default except for the sources. Enable browser source hardware acceleration. Now, for those of you that know, if you use OBS already or have seen it in the past, you know that other things come in to OBS as a source through a browser source, which is like your sound alerts and those little notifications of the sound alerts and stuff. Those are browser sources that are showing those graphics. Your alerts, your stream elements alerts and pop-ups and widgets and things like that all come through a browser source. And we're going to cover those, you know, as we go through and start making stuff on our scenes and things like that. But the browser needs to have its own acceleration. Don't need to tax your system, and using your hardware instead of the software to accelerate that visual push to make them pretty, as it were, should be done by your GPU and your CPU and not the software. It just makes it smoother. So just come in and check that. And then your hotkeys, again, if you've set the hotkeys, you can set them to never disable, only disable when, you know, or only disable when the main window is in focus, or disable them when the window is not in focus. So I don't use the hotkeys, so I have mine to never disable because that's the default. It doesn't really matter, but it's up to you how you're doing things, you know, whatever. So again, I'm going to cancel that because of the thing, but that's the settings, right? So we've gone through the install. We've got the 4 plugins. We've got the LUA set up. So we now have OBS start. My speed run timer starts automatically when I load OBS or bot, whatever it is. And then we have gone through and connected it to our streaming service of choice, which in this case is Twitch or YouTube, Facebook Live, Kick. You saw the list. It's 500 things long. And then we've gone through every setting and we've made it so that we have to manually add our audio inputs and outputs. We're going to take full control over those. We've set our bandwidth and our settings and our audio settings and, of course, our video. So now we are ready to come in and start actually setting up OBS to make it for the future. We're future-proofing our own design. And before I do that, I'm going to go pee because I don't really want to clean my chair off again. So give me a couple minutes and I will be right back, guys. There's an achievement called, where'd it go? Lose Your Mind. And it says, did I just no clip through reality? So I'm seeing if there's like a secret wall or something I can go through. That's why I'm doing this. There is a method to my madness. Madness? There's a method to my madness. I have no flashlight. Yo, there's some crying up ahead. What the? What? Is it in that rock? Oh! What the fuck was that? I killed somebody! Ah, you fucker! I got you! Oh, and then their friend got me. Alright, bird. No. Fucking just stay in the goddamn ball, you stupid fuck. You're a level fucking 2, for fuck's sake. Watch, he's gonna kill me now. He's gonna get out of the ball, fucking tackle, and I'm gonna die. And we're gonna do this all over again. You kidding me? A fucking level 2 fucking Pidgey gets out of the ball twice? I hate being reminded about that Pidgey. Okay. Well, oh, that was my shoulder. We're back. All right. So now, recap. We've downloaded OBS. We've installed it. We have downloaded the 4 plugins that I believe are essential and should be included in OBS by default. We've also downloaded and set up an LUA script to automatically start other programs that we use as a streamer when we open OBS. And we've gone through each and every one of the settings to connect OBS to our streaming service and set that settings up. Set that settings? I know how to speak. I swear to God. Just not today, apparently. But we set everything up on the back end, all of the one-time settings. So we have good audio and video output ready to go. Now, when you come into OBS, again, excuse me, this is what you're going to be greeted with. You run the configurator. If you do the connect to the Twitch, you do get the extra docs. So up here, I forgot about my chat thing. You have the edit the view, the docs button, link, whatever, allows you. So everything with a check mark is what you see on the screen. So here's our scenes. That's this little area here. Our sources. That's this area here. You have the audio mixer. That's this area here. You have the scene transitions, which I have as a tab down here. Okay, what else do I have? I have my stats. That is your OBS stats. This is going to tell you basically your top half. It tells you what's going on with your computer and OBS itself. And then the bottom half is your output. So if you're streaming or recording, it'll tell you if you're dropping frames, how much output or data you've outputted, what your bit rate is currently, and that'll fluctuate as on and on. And you also get to see these numbers at the bottom here. So you'll notice at a quick glance of what's going on with your stuff. So I highly recommend having the stats tab there. By default, it's not open. And then the multiple output, which is a tutorial I covered earlier. So we're not going to worry about that. I'm going to go ahead and turn that one off. So now this is basically what you're greeted with. Now, if you do have the Twitch information, like I told you before, you're going to have the activity feed that'll pop up, the Twitch stats will pop up, and the chat will pop up, as you saw. And they are dockable. So just for example, let's go to the activity feed. I can click and drag as long as when I say docs, lock docs is unchecked. I can bring this around. I can put it here. I can put it in the middle. I can put it up here. I can put them over here. I can put them up above. Like you can dock anywhere. Normally I have mine on the left-hand side here. And then once it's docked, I can make it wider or narrower to a certain degree. Okay. And the same thing here. I can, you can resize any of the docks anywhere, just like that. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep my other docks off just for clarity. How do you get the audio mixer to have a separate on-off toggle for each app, if that's even possible? Hi, Lily. Yes, it is possible. We are going to actually cover that today here. It'll probably be a little bit longer before we get to it. But the first plugin that we downloaded tonight, the Win Capture Audio, is what is needed to make that happen. By default, OBS does have a version that will kind of work, but I don't recommend using it, which is why I tell everybody to get the plug-in for it. Right, where was I? Sorry, got a little bit distracted. Okay. So yeah, that we are going to cover that in just a second, actually, but I know what I can do that first. You're going to have to find the plugin. You can wait until I get done streaming tonight, because all of the links for everything that I cover in each tutorial will be linked in the Discord, and then it will also be in the description on the YouTube VOD, which I will upload in the morning. So those options are there. But if you're in a hurry, you can also just Google "Win Capture Audio." Let me bring this back up. There you go. This is what you're looking for. The "Win Capture Audio," and then it's a plugin. You just install it, download the exe from here, set up exe, and install it. Then reopen OBS, and it'll be ready to go for you. But yeah, okay. So let me just cover a few of the best practices that I have come to appreciate over the last few years. And if you're just starting out, this will save you a lot of time, a lot of effort. And if you are one of the kind like me that struggle with visual organization, it'll really help. What I'm talking about is setting up your scenes to be all-inclusive yet highly organized. And one of the ways we can do that is we can make a scene for whatever we want. And in that scene, we can include whatever we want. Now, the only thing that OBS requires is that you have a scene. That's why it comes with a default one named scene. I can remove it, but there needs to be at least one scene, and you'll get that one. Okay. So if I want to remove scene, I have to add another one first, right? Don't remove it. You just right click on it, and we're going to go to rename. Now I use the little tilde symbol for mine. They come out as dashes. You can use whatever you want. But these are main scenes. And of course, you can name yours whatever you prefer, right? But I have mine main scenes. So now, under main scenes, I'm going to use this default scene as a separator. There's never going to be a source in it. I'm not going to have anything in it. It's not going to do anything. If I ever click on it, it's just going to show black. But I use it as a visual separator. So now I have my main scenes, right? So to add a scene, and Miss Neil, welcome in. Hi. If you think of your scenes and sources as a bookshelf with books on them, right? The scene is the shelf. Okay, this is the holder that holds all of the information or whatever. The sources are the books that are on the shelf. So when somebody comes up to your bookshelf, the books are what they see. The scenes are just what holds those books. And I like to think of it that way. You can maybe come up with a better analogy, but I like books, so that's what I used. So we're going to add a new shelf to hold some books. And in this case, one of the first scenes that most streamers have is a starting soon. All right. Now, here's something that you have to keep in mind when you're naming scenes and sources. Every single one of them must be unique. Okay, so I can't have, for example, a starting soon and then have a starting soon source. But I can have a starting space soon and a starting no space soon source or another scene. So just make sure that your identifiers are unique, and you won't run into any problems. And it'll tell you if you try to do it, it'll say, oh, that already exists, or you can't rename it or whatever, or it'll just put copy in parentheses next to it. So we have our starting soon scene, and then we're going to have that. We're going to go from starting soon. Normally, some people have like a just chatting scene that they start on, right? So we may go just chatting. After that, we're going to add another scene where we have our gameplay footage, right? So we can do gameplay. And honestly, you can name these whatever you want. You could name this monkey, football, oatmeal, as long as you know what they are. Nobody is ever going to see this except for you, or unless you're me and you go live and you have it on display. Maybe don't name it monkey and oatmeal. But you need to know what they are. So then after the gameplay, maybe we need a BRB screen, right? Because we just like I did, so you're going to have to go pee at some point. You can name it Jiminy Bibbidi Blob Jr. the Third, as long as you know what is on that scene. I highly recommend that if you're going to do the Junior the Third, though, that you don't use Roman numerals. So that's just a personal thing. And then, of course, we're going to have our stream ending scene. I don't use stream ending scenes. I hate them. I have a raid out scene, but people that go stream ending, and then they just kind of sit there for 5 minutes and then do the raid. Like, I don't, why, be there, right? So, but you maybe you have a raid out, or we're just going to do a stream ending, whatever it is you do. I'm not in control of your streams. You can have whatever you want. So those are the main 5 basic ones that you're going to do. So now we can click in between these, so I can go from starting soon to just chatting. I can go to my gameplay. I can go to my BRB. I got to pee. I can come back from BRB to play. And then we can go straight from play to stream ending or whatever it is. And all you got to do is click, and then it'll change. I know you can't see anything because I have nothing there, but we're setting up. So now I want to add a new scene, but this is going to be another separator scene. Now, you can call this, again, you can call it whatever you want. I prefer to have mine called resources. Of course, I can spell. I promise. You may also call these assets. You can call them, whatever you want. But this is where I do like my audio, my browser sources, things like that. So each of those are going to be on a scene. And the reason we do this, for those of you that are jumping ahead in class, is for nesting our scenes later. So the first thing I do, audio, right? We're going to have a scene with audio in it. Then I have a scene that's going to be all of my browser sources. I can spell. Right, I'm going to have a scene, maybe, that's for, like, I have little welcome cards and things like that. So I want to keep those separate. So I have one for my welcome cards. Whatever it is that you have that is not necessarily a scene to be displayed, but maybe more just like parts of a scene that you want to keep separate for organizational purposes. And of course, you can add to these as you come and see fit. There's no limit to the number of scenes you can have. So I'm going to do like, I would do assets there. Next, right? This might be like my alerts. This could be, you could have one for your bot stuff, not butt stuff. Keep that off of Twitch. And apparently YouTube. You might be able to get away with it on Facebook. I don't know. I don't go on Facebook. So. But as you can see, the main idea here is that we have our separators so that we can visually look and go, oh, here's our scenes that we display to people. Here's our scenes that are holding our audio sources, our browser sources. Here's our asset scenes that are holding other little things that aren't constantly going on, right? Because like audio is always on. Or but sound alerts, for example, may not always be active, or I don't want them on my be right back screen, or whatever it is. So you can have that separated how you want. This is pretty much about how I do it, though. And then again, these little separators, don't have anything in them. They will never have anything in them. Their only job is space holder, right? And now we want to add some stuff. But the first thing you want to add is your microphone. All right. So we're going to go to our audios. We're going to add an audio input capture. It even has a little picture of a microphone. And that's good because that's what it is. So we're going to go to our audio. Because remember in settings, earlier setting, we disabled all the default shit because I told you we're going to add them, right? So the audio input here, and you're just going to name this. You can name it whatever you want. You can name it Jiminy Bibbly Bob Jr. III if you would prefer, as long as you know what it is. If you have multiple microphones that you use, some people have one for their Discord where they're talking on their friends, and then another one for stream, so they can just mute one or the other without having to, So you might want to name that, like, oh, this is my Elgato mic, this is my Blue Yeti mic, this is my, Razer headset mic, whatever. Just something so you know which one it is, because that's going to become important later. So you click OK. And then from your drop down, you're going to get to pick anything that is connected and active to OBS at the time. Right now, the only mic I have is my Yeti. My Blue Yeti. Yeah, the OG. Bad boy. Anyway, and so we select it, and then we click OK, and oh, look, there it is. And it's active. It's picking me up there, and you have the sliders. Yours are going to look like this, by the way. That's what it's going to look like by default. But I don't like scrolling. I like to see my shit. So if you right click inside the audio mixer here, you'll see unhide all, vertical layout, and advanced audio properties. Click on vertical layout, and now you have all of them will stand up and go left to right. And it's a very nice thing. But we have a couple things that we need to do to our microphone for sound. I'm not going to cover the filters and settings and things like that. I have already done a full tutorial that is up on the YouTube about the microphone settings that you need to use to get a higher quality sound through stream. But I'm going to show you one that I think everybody should use. If you right click here, and it doesn't matter, you can do it here as well. As long as you right click on your source somewhere and choose filters, you're going to be met with a screen that looks like this, where you can add filters. We're going to add a limiter. Just name it limiter and make this either a -5 or a -6. I leave mine -6, which is the default. And then you click close. And what this does basically is, if you notice, the top of the bar pegged out top is 0 decibels, and it does go beyond, and OBS will actually output positive decibels. Twitch, on the other hand, will not accept positive decibels. And of course, this is a weird thing. If anybody knows anything about audio and the decibel ratings, you know that this scale is not a thing. Like, we could put the 0 on this scale anywhere and be correct. It's a fluctuating decibel scale. So most audio engineers, audio files, and audio programs use this style of mixer with the 0 at the top or the high end. and everything below it is a negative dB representation. So that's why I'm saying positive and negative, even though it's relative. So hope that confused you. You're welcome. Just keep in mind, 0 and higher, bad. Twitch does not accept it, and if it comes in at that level, even with the 320 kilobytes per second set, it will cut the volume of your stream and then force a reset. And that's why you hear some streamers, when they get loud, their mic and shit cuts out. It's not doing it in real life. That's Twitch doing it. So how do you prevent that? Well, you don't send positive decibels into Twitch, which means you don't output positive decibels from OBS. And that limiter, as you remember, we set it to negative 6 dB. We limit the input of our microphone digitally to never go above negative 6 on this decibel list. So it doesn't matter how close I get to my microphone. It doesn't matter how loud I yell at my microphone. It's never going to get above negative 6, which means my microphone is never going to peak, which means Twitch is never going to cut my mic sound off because of that. So if you do nothing else to your microphone, put a fucking limiter on it and save everybody the hassle, right? The volume slider here, you know, is a volume slider, obviously. If it's all the way down, nobody can fucking hear you. If it's all the way up, which your microphone should always be at 100%. That's my personal recommendation. You adjust your volume levels digitally around that. And then I like to lock my volume. This way I can't come by, because you can, if it's unlocked, I will show you. You can come through and use the scroll wheel on your mouse, like if it's clicked, and it'll go down or up based on your scrolling. And you see, I'm not even like really on it. I mean, I'm close to it, but so if I'm doing something and I come through and I'm trying, and I accidentally go here and then my microphone just dips low in the volume, and I don't know, you know, it's annoying, or the game volume or your Discord volume or whatever it is. So when you're done with your setup, always click lock. And the same thing here on your sources. The I is the visibility. So if I turn it off, it's gone. And if this were my streaming OBS, you would not be able to hear me right now. The lock just locks it in place, which means I can't do anything with it. You know, I can't like rename it and stuff like that. This just becomes a habit after a while, but it's one I recommend you get into. I highly recommend it. Always lock your sources down, no matter what they are. And this will come into play when we're doing the visual stuff on the scenes, because if they're not locked and you go to click on to move something and you move the one next to it instead, it's a big hassle and it's frustrating. Avoid it. If you lock it down, you can't move it, you can't resize it, you can't do shit to it up here. So just get in that habit, and then that way, oh, I want to make a change to my microphone. I'm just gonna come through here, unlock it. Now I can do whatever I need to do. Lock it back. We're done. Okay. So now we have other things that we need to include sounds for, and because we have an audio source or an audio scene, excuse me, we're going to fill it with all of our audio sources. And this is where that plugin comes in. And Lily and Gravitas, this is what you were asking about earlier. We are finally here. So pay attention, because I'm only going to go over this 3 or 4 times or more. Also, it's going to have its own tutorial on YouTube because I think it is that important. So if you don't want to wade through this VOD or wade through the upload of the YouTube of this edited video tomorrow or whatever, it will have its own eventually. So what's going to happen is we've added that plugin. So if you notice again, the application audio capture beta, the very top list, that's the one that's built into Twitch, or sorry, built into OBS. Don't use it. If you happen to notice it, it's going to look like this, where you get to pick your window or your application that's making noise. And then you you have an audio for it. Okay, no, we don't want that. We want, get out of here. Go away. Gross. Okay. What we want is the option just below that. Application audio output capture. This is the plugin, the Win Capture Audio. This is the plugin that we downloaded and installed earlier. Okay, we're going to give this one a name. So, for example, I'm going to go ahead and go with Spotify. Because we're not supposed to have that on Twitch. Now you see the difference here in the two. This is the plugin one. Look how much more stuff there is, right? More stuff means more control, but it is stuff you need to learn. So let's go over it. The mode, leave it alone. Executables. This big window right here is the list of everything inside of this one output source. Okay. And then we are either going to capture all audio except what's in the list, if you check that box, which I don't recommend, or it will only include
on subscription. MS Neil.
Miss Neil, thank you for the sub. I appreciate you. Put your money away, but thank you for the sub. I appreciate it. And welcome in again. I'm glad you're here. So you're going to leave the mode default. You're going to leave this box unchecked. The executables. Yeah, I got like 5 ads. Yeah. Oh, is it top of the hour again? It is. I appreciate that. Thank you. So here's the thing. If you're going to add something to the list, it has to be open, active, and making noise. That's the requirement. So if we're going to add Spotify, we have to open Spotify. Okay. And I'm opening Spotify now because, why not? So I have Spotify open and I have it making noise. You can hear it, right? So what happens then is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to mute this. Anyway, we're going to come to the active session drop down and we're going to look for Spotify. There it is, because it's making noise. And then you have to click the add executable button. And you see now it is up in our executables list. And if I click OK, because Spotify is playing, it has its own slider. Okay. So let me go ahead and close Spotify now because we've added that. So now you got to think as a streamer, what other things do you use or have that make noise? And you can have as many of these as you want. So for example, we're going to add another one right now because a lot of players, right? You have the friends that you play with and you get on Discord, right? And you have a Discord call. So we're going to come in here. We're going to add Discord. We're going to add that executable. Boom. Now Discord has its own volume slider. Your friends yelling in your ear and your stream's going, oh my God, headphone warning because somebody is too loud. You don't have to tab out of your game and go open Discord and find that user and right click on them and find where that one option is for their volume. And how's that? All you got to do is come over to OBS and go, fuck off. You're too loud. Yells in ear. Alex. Hi. Welcome in. How are you, dear? So now we have Discord. You can control the Discord volume separately from Spotify, from your microphone, from everything else, and go from there. Now another important one, right? Chat needs to hear. What do they need to hear? They need to hear your game. Okay. So we're going to add one for games. So we're going to add games here. Now the same thing with this. The game needs to be open. It needs to be making noise for it to show up on the list. Okay. I'm not going to go through and open a whole bunch of games, but I'm going to use these as an example just for now. pretend that I have my game open. So I'm playing a game called Brave, right? And I add Brave to the executable list. Now people can hear my Brave game. Okay. And then I go, oh, you know what? I'm done playing Brave and I'm going to go play StreamerBot. I'm just making shit up now, but you get the idea. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to come back into properties. I'm going to open this up again. Right. So now from executable, I have my StreamerBot game open and I'm going to select it and add it to the list. So now my Brave game and my StreamerBot game are both in the game's audio. They are separate from Discord. They are separate from Spotify. And they are included with each other because you can only play one game at a time. So if I now close my StreamerBot game and I open my Brave game again, I don't have to add it again because Brave is already in there. So it'll just work, just like the microphone. I don't have to add my microphone every time. Once you've added a game to your games list, and there is no limit. One of my games list, I have like 75 games on there. Once it's on that list, every time that executable loads, the volume from that executable will come through this channel. And I can control that volume with the slider as I need to. Some games are louder than others, right? So you need to turn some up. You might need to turn some down, that kind of thing. But that's how you do that. So anything that you need that makes noise on your stream, if you have both added and you open both, will that still work? Yes, both of them will come through, but they will come through on the same channel. So if you need to adjust the volume for one and not the other, they either need to be on separate or you're going to have to do it like the old school way with controlling the volume in the game settings. But normally people are only playing one video game at a time. Thank you. Thank you. So that's not, I did it again. So that's not really an issue. But you can have as many of these as you like, right? So for example, I can add another one right here, right? And we're going to name this one. I have one for my bots because my bots control a lot of my sounds, like the applause that Benny just played. So my streamer.bot is going to have his own, right? I don't know. I don't underestimate your ADHD. I have often had multiple games open, but I'm only playing one at a time. And I'm only streaming one at a time. Even if I'm doing like Boom Bears while I'm on a break, right? And I have my horror game is open, but I went to BRB and I put up Stream Racer or Boom Bears. Both games are open, but I have it so that, I'm on my Be Right Back screen. Boom Bears takes, is going to have the volume control, right? Because that's the one that's in focus. Yes, they're both making sound and they're both coming through. But because I'm not active on my horror game, it's not overpowering the other game. But to answer your question, yes, it doesn't matter. If I had 20 games on that list and all 20 were open and all 20 were making noise, you would hear all 20 at once. And that would probably go insane a little bit. But yeah, just like it is. See, when you open OBS and default, remember that default one and it had desktop audio? That's because everything coming into your computer gets pushed into this one channel on your motherboard in the audio section. And then OBS picks that up, right? And they have that one channel and then it goes out everywhere as that one channel. And this is what makes this plugin special, because that one channel goes to your headphones, it goes to your stream, it goes to your recording. So if a game is too loud, but everything else is too quiet, and you go and turn that desktop audio down, now the game is fine, but everything else is way too quiet. Even if you adjust the volume on your headset or your speakers, it's still adjusting everything equally. So the loud game and the quiet, Discord call are getting silenced or increased volume. This controls them individually. But not only that, is it's separate channels. So the game volume is here, but it's also here. One of them is going to my headset. The other one is going to my stream. So I can actually turn my headset all the way off, fucking mute every sound that there is, including my games, and it doesn't affect the volume that stream has. So I can set my volume on my headset to where the game volume is comfortable for me. But if chat goes, oh, we can't hear the game, and I come in here and I turn the volume up for the game, it doesn't change the volume in my ear. It changes the volume in OBS to the output, because I'm not listening to the output from OBS, I'm listening to the output from the game. Does that make sense? So it's actually two separate channels now. One I control that I hear, and then the one I control in OBS is what you hear. And that's what makes the plugin so much better than anything else out there. Okay, so I can have all of my games in one scene. Yeah, and it is one of the best features, and that's why I said this needs to be included in OBS. But OBS kind of took it. They just took a dumbed down version of it, and it doesn't work well. So don't use that one. Use the plugin. But you can have as many of these as you want. So if you have 20 different things that make noise, like Discord, Spotify, right? Your web browsers, that's another popular one, right? Because people like to open up. So I'm going to put web browsers, right? Because people like to open up like, oh, let me show you this thing I made on YouTube or TikTok or, whatever. And they bring in that audio. So now I can have my Brave browser, my Chrome browser, my Edge browser, my, whatever Mac is using these days, Opera. All my browsers can be here and they have their volume. So when my browser makes sound, it comes through right here. And I can control that volume here, right? I can then control my games, my browsers, my bots. But here's one secret that none of the tutorials I've ever seen on YouTube are going to tell you. You still have desktop audio that comes through that needs to be heard. One of the biggest examples of this, and people don't understand it, sound alerts. Almost every streamer I know has a soundalerts.com website account. They have sounds, they get bits for the sounds, they have channel points for the sounds, whatever, that come through from sound alerts. And it's a browser source in OBS to display the little thing. The sound, though, actually comes through your desktop audio. It comes through OBS, not through your headset, not through another application. So how do we control that volume? Well, you're going to add another one, and you're going to call this one OBS. Okay? And then from here, you have two. You got the OBS executable, and you have the OBS browser page executable. You're going to add them both. You're going to click OK. Now, anything that comes directly into OBS can now be heard and have its own volume slider. So your sound alerts can now be controlled right here. Your stream element alerts can now be controlled right here. Anything else that comes through from your computer, Bing alerts, whatever the case may be, there's 5 or 6 of them. They have their own space to have volume now and be heard on stream, just like by default, but instead of everything jumbled together in one audio output with one volume slider, now it's all separate. The one caveat is that there are some things that do both. Okay, so like, for example, if I were to play one of my sounds on my bot right now,
bullshit.
Okay, you can see how the bots go, and then the games go. Well, I think that's because my bots have this. Yep. Ugh. And we just get rid of one. There we go. Okay, bad example, but anyway, I have certain, because I have my alerts and stuff turned off. But like my alerts go through my bot, but some of them, because they are browser sources as well inside my bot, they come through the desktop audio and they will be played twice. However, because the bot has priority, because that is what is playing the sound, the volumes are quite different on the slider. So while one may be up around the 10 decibel range, the OBS one is only going to be down at like 30, 40 down in this range. And so you're not going to hear double is what I'm trying to get to. So don't let that be. You're going to see two sliders going up, but you're not going to hear double. Chat isn't going to hear double. But if that's a case, an instance or whatever, we can address that through troubleshooting and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's basically how you get full control over which audio. Now, for those of you that were paying attention in class, what channel does stream here? Remember in settings, we set our channels, right? And I told you we'd come back to that later. Well, now it's later. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to go to our audio mixer here, and we're going to right click, and we're going to choose the advanced audio properties. This is bottom option here, and you're going to get met with a window that looks like this. What the fuck is going on here? Right? Confusing as shit. Not really. The name is everything. It's listed by name. So if we look here, right, we have our bots, our Discord, our games, our microphones, etc., on and on and on. The status of them is active. The volume, you see, we have them all at 100%. They are not mono, they are stereo, so we are balanced between left and right. And then the sync offset, we don't have to worry about that anymore because OBS fixed their sync problems like 5 versions ago. Okay? Come here, little gnat, little fucker. So everything from right here over this way, you can ignore. We don't really care about that. We care about the audio monitoring and the tracks. Okay, so for the use of these purposes, with audio monitoring, you have 3 options. Monitor off, which is default. Anytime you add a new audio input or output, it's going to default to monitor off. You have monitor only, mute the output, and then you have monitor and output. Okay, so let's go over these real quick. Again, not an audio engineer, and there are different uses for different ones, but I'm going to tell you. For your audio output, those are things going out from your computer, right? So this is your web browsers, your bots, your games, everything that we've added with our application audio output capture. They have their own channel. Leave the monitor off. The volume and where it's displayed and the channels they come through, because remember, that doesn't control what you hear in your ear. This controls what stream hears. Monitor off means it's not being monitored in your headset. It's being sent out to your stream or to your recording. Okay? Monitor only, mute the output, is the exact opposite. That means it's going to come only to your headset or your speakers, but it's not being sent out to your streams or to your recordings. Monitor and output means it's going to do both. It's going to go to your headphones and it's going to go to your streams or in your recordings. Monitor off is default, and that means stream can hear it, you cannot, which is great for your microphone because you don't want to hear yourself, right? It's good for everything else on this list with this setup because we don't need to hear everything twice, right? So if I have my Spotify, it was playing music, and I put this on monitor and output because the plugin is basically making 2 channels and sending one to my headset and one to my stream. And then OBS is taking that one to my stream and turning it back and sending it to my headset as well. I'm now going to hear Spotify twice in my ears. I don't need that. I already have it in my ears, so I can leave these off. Leave them default. Okay. If you ever need to go, oh, is my microphone actually working? Because chat says, oh, I can't hear you. And you look and it's making, you can come in here and you can check this and you can go monitor and output. And then you can hear yourself. Can you hear me? You hear me in my ears. I don't like that. Right. But that's a way you can say, oh, no, I fucking hear it. That's working. It must be a problem somewhere else. A big thing we need to look at, though, these tracks right here. Remember I told you there are 6 different audio tracks in OBS that OBS can output to. That's for your recordings. If you're in studios, each person singing on the album has their own microphone and whatever, put them on a different track, right? Well, we don't have anything for tracks 4, 5, and 6 because we're not in a studio recording albums. We're playing video games on Twitch, right? So you can uncheck all of this. Remember I told you earlier also that when you change your microphone from 48 to 44.1, or you change your resolution from 1080p to 864, that you're saving a little bit of bandwidth and a little bit of processing power. Same thing here. If you're not going to use channels 4, 5, and 6, and let me bring this down so you can see behind my head. If you're not going to use channels 4, 5, and 6, why have them activated and using resources? Is it going to save a whole lot of shit? Is it going to like make it so that you can play Elden Ring on the highest graphic? No, it's not. Okay. But every little bit of savings helps. So uncheck them. There's no need for them, especially on your recordings, especially if you do your own self-editing. You don't need to bring in your video with 6 different audio fucking channels, right? Because you're going to delete those 3 with nothing on them anyway. So why have them there? Now, what did we recall? We recall channel 1 or track 1 is what stream hears live. So what I'm saying to you right now, for those of you in chat, okay, this is what you're hearing. This is what I'm saying. That's live. That's on track 1, right? For those of you in the future, high future people that are talking to me, and I'm talking to you now from the past, because this is a recording uploaded to YouTube, you're listening to me on track number 3, right? Because remember our recording, we set the recordings to track number 3. So you're hearing everything that is on track number 3. The live people in my audience right now are hearing track number 1. Now, tomorrow, or as soon as this stream is over and Twitch gets the VOD uploaded, right, which happens automatically, and you are coming in later, also high future people, but you are now not on YouTube watching the recording, you're on Twitch watching the VOD, you are listening to track number 2. Now, if you recall, who I told you also listens to the VODs, namely the AI algorithms from Twitch to check what kind of content is in your VODs and if any of it is copyrighted, such as Spotify, music, you know, or maybe you have some kind of game that might play Spotify. Maybe you don't want that on your VOD. So what you would do then is you would find that source for whatever it may be. I don't know what it could be. You know, use your imagination. Something specific, maybe. I don't know what it might be. If we uncheck that box right there for track number 2, it will not be on the VOD. Doesn't matter what comes through that source, how loud it is on live stream or on the recording, that you download to your computer and upload later to YouTube. Maybe don't want it there either, do we? So if you're worried about things like that, there's ways around. No, but you get the idea, right? Track 1 is live. Track 2 is the VOD. Track 3 is the recording. That is right. That is what we set earlier. I don't know if you were here, Ms. Nil, but in the settings, we went to our output. We changed output from simple to advanced. Okay, and this is all in the. This will all be in the VOD in the upload on YouTube as well. But we output in settings. It defaults to simple. Looks like this. We're going to change it to advanced. Whoops. I'll cover this over real quick for you. You have streaming, recording, audio tabs, all that. So on the streaming, we have our audio track. This is live stream to set to track number 1. We've then enabled the Twitch VOD track and set that to track number 2. And then on the recording tab, we have the audio track down here set to track number 3. And once you have those set, that's what this is talking about now. So you could actually have it to where live stream is track number 5. No, the VOD is the video on demand. That when you have VODs enabled through Twitch, your streams are saved as a recording and uploaded again to the Twitch servers, and they're there for whatever it is, 30 or 60 days or whatever. So you can actually go back to my video section and see all of my past broadcasts. No, it's built into OBS because we are connected to the Twitch account. So when you have OBS, yeah, that's going to be there by default. So on your stream, when your service, if your service is Twitch and you've connected your accounts to Twitch, then on this tab, that will automatically be there. Yeah, no, you don't have to do anything special for that. Nope, that is there regardless. But with this plugin for the audio input capture, we now have a separate track for everything, right? Because before, everything was coming in all in one channel. And if we didn't have that on the VOD, then stream would hear nothing. No game sounds, no alerts, no, sub things, no, nothing. They wouldn't hear. The only thing they would hear is your microphone because that was the only separate audio, right? With this one, everything has its own track, so we can control them individually. Or control, which means I can do certain things while I'm live that will not be on the VOD or the recording. Likewise, if I'm doing a recording for YouTube like I'm doing now, and I want certain things to be heard on that recording that I may not need on Twitch, right? Because my recording is for YouTube, I'm live on Twitch, and I go, oh, you know what? Twitch really doesn't need to hear this part, but the recording does. Like I'm on Discord call, but you don't know that because I have track 1 and 2 turned off. So I have my tutorial guru, I'm just making this shit up, I don't really have all that, but is talking about what I'm talking about on my Discord call, right? I can have it not come through live stream, but it'll be on the recording. And so it works both ways. But basically, essentially, yes, once you have this set up with your settings there, track 1 is live, track 2 is the VOD recording on Twitch, track 3 is your recordings that get saved to your computer or uploaded somewhere else. So, you don't want things heard for certain reasons that may exist. If they're not on the VOD, there's a 95% chance you're not going to get caught with it while you're live because there are no resources to check every minute of every live stream. That's impossible. We check the VOD recordings through algorithms and AI. And if it's just not there, there's no flag. Understood, class? Good. Moving on. Now, but basically, that's where we are with the audio. So now we can go back to our starting soon scene, right? And we're going to need to put some shit up there to see. So we want a starting soon, whatever. So we're going to go, hi, Sensei. Hey, Padawan, Daniel-san. If you can take this pebble from my palm. Now, it's really easy, right? But it's, people don't know about it. So we're just, I'm all about letting people know about dried grapes, right? I like raising awareness. Come on. That was gold. Anyway. Yeah. Dad jokes are supposed to be bad, right? Anyway, so we're on our starting soon screen, and you want to add some shit because we need to go live soon, right? We got our audio set up, but you'll notice now that I'm on my starting soon screen, I have no audio here. What the hell's going on? Well, we haven't added it as a source. We have it down here in its own scene, and I could go to this scene while live and you would hear everything. But what happens when I'm here? This is where what is termed nested scenes comes into play. Okay? So I'm going to show you what a nested scene is. Basically, as you know, a nested scene, just like the Russian nesting dolls, or I don't really know what they're really called. I can't pronounce that word because I'm a dumb American. The Nishka dolls, anyway, whatever. One inside the other, inside the other, inside the other, and on and on and on, right? We do the same thing with our scenes. We have nested scenes. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a new source to our scene. And if you've already been using OBS or OBS Live or Slobs or Stream Elements Live, you know what a scene and a source is and how to add them. But just in case you don't, the scenes are all here. Again, the bookshelf analogy. All the scenes are the bookshelves. The sources are the books on the shelf, and that's what your stream or recordings will see. Right? They walk up to the bookshelf, they see the books that are on that current shelf. So currently, we are looking at the starting soon bookshelf, and we have nothing on it. So the first thing we want to put on it is our audio so we can talk to people. So we're going to come here, and there's an option when you click add, the little plus button, to click on scene. I hear you, hush. That's my dog. We're going to click on scene, and as you can see, we can either create new, which here we cannot. You can only create a new scene in the scene. We can add an existing one. So we're going to go through it, put them alphabetically, and we're going to look for our audio. We're going to click on OK, and there's all of our audio that we just added, brought into this scene in one little tidy package. So instead of having, if we go back and look, instead of having all of these listed on this scene and this scene and this scene and this scene and this scene, we just have the one little package that we can add to every scene that we want audio on. All right? So that's a nested scene. So we have a scene here nested as a source inside another scene. And yes, we could technically go to our just chatting, add a scene. We could add our starting soon and add that. So now we have our audio from our audio scene that is nested inside our starting soon scene, that is nested inside our just chatting scene, and on and on and on, but the audio still works. It's there. Now, I don't recommend doing that. That was kind of stupid, but I just wanted to show you that, yes, it is possible. You can nest beyond more than one level. Okay. So we're going to stick with the just starting soon screen, and I'm going to let you extrapolate the data from that because we've already gone on 3.5 hours. So we're kind of wrapping it up for this little beginner tutorial, but my goal is to get you this foundation and then get you like live. So the next thing we need to add for audio or after audio, right, is we need to add our webcam if you want to add the webcam. Some people have one, some people don't have one. Some people are using VTubers, or the PNG tubers or whatever. So whatever it is that you have that's going to display you, this webcam, etc., you can add that as a video capture device. Now, there are a few exceptions. I know from experience with other people like Alex and them, if you are a VTube Studio user, that is a game capture. So you notice we have all these little captures. We got a display capture. We have a game capture. We have a video capture device. We have a window capture. That is basically what it does. It captures the output from this device to display it on this scene. So the display capture will capture everything that is on your monitor. I am using a display capture currently to show you my secondary monitor on my primary OBS. You are seeing the entire screen. This is everything on my scene or on my screen right now, except for my webcam, and the chat above my head is on this monitor over here. My OBS is over here. The secondary OBS that we've been playing with is a display capture. A game capture, so I could create a scene just to put my webcam there. Yes. And that is exactly what I do. Right? I have a scene, a secondary scene under my resources for my webcam that has my webcam. It has all the filters. It has the overlay. It has, what makes it a circle is basically like a filter mask, a mask filter. Right. I have the graphic. Right. This is also where I have the colors. So like when you redeem the rage and it changes the colors on my camera. Right. I have all of that is all within that webcam scene. And then I just nest that webcam scene everywhere I want my webcam. So you notice my webcam is not on my BRB screen. Right. I just don't add that scene like I do here. So I wouldn't add my webcam to that scene if I don't want my webcam to be shown. And that way, it only appears where I want it, and it limits the times that you have to like remove or disable anything like that. This is basically programming user sources. Yeah, basically. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, not quite that simple, but yeah, basic. If you can understand that, you definitely understand this. One thing I do want to point out, though, is if you know any type of programming language, especially like CSS or whatever, the sources panel, this right here in the middle, this is where all of our books are. It stacks, right? So it's top down. So the highest thing on the list is what is seen. Okay. So we'll get to that more in detail in a second, but kind of like CSS, it's top down, right? Top, unlike CSS, top has the priority, right? So whatever's on top is what's seen. So if you have two things and they are completely covering each other on this display, whatever order they are on in this list right here is what will show on top and what stream will see or your recording will see. So if you're like, oh, I don't know where that thing went, you might have to drag it up to the top, and we'll cover that in just a second. But so for now, we're going to add our webcam, and of course, this is going to be a video capture device. Again, if you're using like VTube or PNG Studios, those might be game captures. So we're going to cover that. We're just going to name it webcam. If you already have this, like Neil brought up, if you have this in its own scene, you could just add your webcam scene as a nested scene and have it there. Now I have my C920, that's in use right now. Hi, that's what I'm using right here. So I'm just not going to add that, but I'm going to use this one because it's blue as a kind of show you, right? So you have something to look at. So when you add your webcam, you have all of the different configurations and stuff that you can do. Normally, I don't use any of these. I leave them all default with the exception of some of the configurations in the video itself, like I might turn off autofocus. But other than that, I just leave it default. And as you can see, it will make it normally full screen unless it is a lower resolution. Because remember I told you when we set our canvas, it was set to 1080p, right? 1920 by 1080. So everything that we bring in that is pre-scaled to 1920 by 1080, such as your webcam or your game screens, they are going to default full screen. Okay, so now I want to take my webcam and I want to resize it and I want to move it around. And this is all you got to do. It's just drag and drop, just like it is in slobs, stream elements, things like that. So where do I want my webcam? Well, maybe I want it over here, right? So let's pretend you can see my little face in there. You resize it. If you click on it, you can click on it here, whatever. And with OBS versions 28 and newer, 27 didn't have it. Yeah, 28 and newer, the red lines come. So you'll see we are 681 pixels from the bottom. We are 1358 pixels from the right edge. So you can, it'll help you align things a little bit better. But there it is. And then once you have it where you want it, right, and you got it going, you lock it down, then you can't do anything with it. Remember I told you, because you can accidentally click on things. So if I didn't have it locked and I was trying to move something underneath it and I went, crap, I just spent 2 minutes getting those pixels exactly right, you know, or whatever, right? So get in the habit of locking your shit down. When you lock it down, you can't do nothing to it. Even if you select it, I mean, you can right click and delete it, but you know, nothing happens on the canvas if it's locked. It's locked in place. Now we want the game, right? We want to bring the game into play, right? So what I'm going to do now is I don't know what to put up. Maybe I can open up a little game or something. Here, I'm just going to pretend we're going to go to, I don't know what game. Video games. There you go. So this is our little video game. We're going to pretend this is our video game, and I'm going to put that up there. Okay, so now we're going to add a video game, and this is going to be a game capture, right? Because if you're coming from Steam, Epic games like your Fortnites and things like that, GOG Galaxy, all of those, they're on your PC, the programs, and they're coming through. It's going to be a game capture. It's capturing that game input. Now, if you are streaming from your Xbox, your PlayStation, you know, whatever console that you use, your Switch or whatever, those are going to be video capture devices because you are using a capture card. So that video capture card then becomes, like you saw up here, because of my Elgato for my webcam, that is what is tracking that signal. Every now and then you will get a game from Steam or from Epic or whatever that will not capture with a game capture. And in that case, you will need to use a window capture. And we're going to just call this game. But it will, you can pick what type of, you know, which window. And so it's not going to capture the entire screen or the whole display as it would with a display screen. It's going to pick just that window. Okay. And then you can come in here. Your capture method should always be automatic. The window match priority, and this is one little important thing I want to show you real quick. When you selected your window, so there's our game. It's showing up here. We got it, right? Do we want to capture our cursor? Yeah, probably, you know, whatever. If not, uncheck that box. But this window match priority, because things change, the name of the window is currently Game Banshee on Brave. So if we looked at my, the title of that tab that's open, that's what it is. But that changes. And even in executables on games, they change their title based on which track is currently being played. It's very rare, but it does happen. And so some people will be playing a game and then all of a sudden the game just disappears. It's because their title changed. Well, now that title doesn't match, right? OBS doesn't know what to show. So when you come in here, you want to match title, otherwise find window of same executable. Okay, not the same type, because the same type would be exe, right, or API or MSI, whatever the file extension, MP4, MP3, right? So you could sit there and be playing a game and then have it switch over to a fucking video it finds in the same folder or something. You don't want that, right? So we want the same executable, which tells it, match this title that we have up above right here in the Windows section, match this title. But if it doesn't have this exact title, make sure that whatever you're displaying there comes from this exact same executable, which would be, in this case, the brave.exe. So even when I change the title, so now my title on my Brave is not Game Banshee anymore. It's still showing the same executable because I'm in the same executable. So now, even though the title's changed, we're still seeing what we're supposed to be seeing. All right. So once we have that in, we can now bring it around. And remember, I told you everything is top down. So as you can see, when it came in, you can't see my webcam anymore. Well, if you look at the sandwich list here, the game is on top of everything. So this is a side view. This is the top down view up here. And this is the side view. So the game is on top of the audio, which is on top of the webcam. Audio doesn't matter because there's no visuals there. We can put audio at the very, very top and it's not going to change anything. But the game is over the webcam. So we either need to move the game out of the way of the webcam so that we can see both when we look down from the top, or we need to put the webcam on top of the game. So for those of you that have a windowed game, it may not matter as much of their order, like I'm doing currently with my speed runs and stuff, right? Those are windowed. So I have my webcam over here on one side of the screen and my game's on the other side. You may be similar. May not matter. But for those of you that like to stream full screen, like I'm doing currently in this tutorial with my webcam on top of the entire screen, right? That's where that would come into play. So you want to make sure that the webcam is either dragged, you can use these arrows as well, on top of the game, so that when you do make changes to it, it's not affecting anything else. So there's our game. There's our game. There's our webcam. We have our audio. We've added the game audio here, right? There it is. We have our microphone. We've got all of our alerts and sounds coming in and everything. We're connected to Twitch. So you have the basic elements right here. Webcam, microphone, game, sounds connected to your account. And you have a baseline right here for the future. So you can add things to your just chatting. You can add things to your gameplay. You can add things to your BIP. You can add browser sources and more alerts and add your bot stuff as you grow and move along and go on and continue to grow. But your basic fundamentals inside OBS don't need to change now. If you set it up similar to this and one that makes sense to you, and name them, you don't have to name everything exactly like I did, but how it makes sense to you, it's a better way to organize everything, and it also keeps it more future-proof. If you need to add a new scene, for example, maybe you don't have a just chatting scene right now and you need to add one. Well, you can add it, put it in its place, and instead of having to redo a background and redo, a game sound or redo your webcam, you can now just come in and add your scenes as nested scenes. So we get our audio in there, boom, done, lock it down. Now our brand new scene already has audio. You know, we're gonna come in and do not a display capture. We're gonna get our game. We're gonna add an existing one because it's already been there. Boom, there it is. We're done. You know, we're gonna add our webcam, so we're gonna add that. There's our webcam. Boom, you know, add it. We're gonna just quickly a little resize. Boom, done. Right? So you don't have to start from scratch every time because it's already done for you. It's already there. You can just nest it, create, move things around. If there's something you don't like, for example, okay, there's my starting soon. I'm going to go to just chatting. I need my webcam to be a little bit bigger on my just chatting because it's more important that I'm seen. It doesn't affect what happens on this scene because everything is now its own entity. So I don't have to manually move things around, and having everything in one scene can get very confusing. So this helps break it apart. But you also have the basic fundamentals for adding audio, keeping control of your audio. You have your settings set for your video and your audio and your streaming services live and recorded to be as high quality as your machine will allow without going over limits. And you know, I hope that kind of gave you a basic understanding. Like I said, I'm not going to go through and give you a setup of every single scene. You know what you want in your scenes. You know if your starting soon scene just needs a background saying we're starting soon, or if it needs a whole bunch of animation. You know what your gameplay is. I don't know what your gameplay. Are you going to be playing from Steam? Are you playing from console? So I mean, I could sit there and add and show you how to add a window capture and a video capture and show you a gameplay capture. But if I showed you once, it's the exact same for all of them. It's just a different source, right? So, just got to think, where is it coming from, right? And then you add that source. But again, we're going to be doing stuff the dumb way. Well, see, and that's the thing, a lot of people do because they don't know better, because there's nobody that's going to show you step by step how to use a program like OBS, because there are so many steps, But for a streamer, OBS is one of the best services or programs out there. You just have to know what you need to use and what you don't. There's a lot in OBS that we will never use as a live streamer, right? The multiple tracks for input, right? 4, 5, and 6. Very rarely will a streamer need 7 microphones. It's just not going to happen, right? We have our 1, maybe 2, if we have a headset to talk to somebody else. So there's a shit ton of stuff in OBS that, as a live streamer, we will never use. But for that stuff that we do use, it can be very confusing or time consuming to learn, which is kind of the point of these Sunday streams now, is I want to go through, and we will get more specific in the future. We will do things like, okay, I want to build a scene from scratch, right? And we might go through, and here's how you do it. Here's what we're going to add, and you can come in and chat and be like, okay, but I want to add, an animated character running across the bottom. How do we do that? Well, let's do that. Let's show you how to do that. But my first live tutorial stream, thank you, Benny. I wanted it to be bare bones basics. Like, let's start from scratch. Let's download OBS and get to the point where we can go live. And we've done that. Right? I mean, obviously I'm using examples because I can't use my webcam because it's in use, right? I didn't load up a game to show you, but we have a stand-in. But we have the audio. Everything's installed. Everything is set up correctly. We have our music volumes and stuff. Our VOD tracks are set. We have a limiter on our mic, so we're not going to blow out the headsets of our viewers. We have the webcam scene with the game. Everything's in its own little bundle, and we are ready. I could literally, I can't because I'm already live, but I could click start streaming right now, and this would be output to Twitch, because that's what we're connected to, right? So we got to that point. People can see me, people can hear me, people can watch the game and hear the game. As a bare bones first step, I think that's a pretty good place to call it, right? 4 hours, not too bad. I was planning to go about 3 to 4 hours anyway. But before I do end, if anybody has any questions about something that we covered today, post them up in chat. Otherwise, feel free to join my Discord, the Bearded Pint. Let me see if I can spell. There it is. All good on your end? Nice. I will be posting in my Discord, the first link there, the Bearded Pint is mine. I have a new section for these tutorials. So all of those plugins that we talked about in that LUA script that I got for at the very beginning of the video, excuse me, those links will be in that Discord as well. If you would rather wait until tomorrow, maybe even Tuesday, I'm not sure, because I still got to edit this video and get it uploaded to YouTube. They will also be linked in the description in the YouTube video as well. And for those of you at YouTube, watching on YouTube, hi, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for checking out the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment in the description, or leave a description below? No, leave a fucking comment, man. I know how to talk. Been doing it all day. I'm a pro. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what topic you want covered. If there's anything specific you want me to cover in a future live stream, let me know, and we'll make sure that we get to those so that everybody's included, not just the people that are here with me today. But for those of you that are here with me today, thank you. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for your questions. Thanks for just being here. But that, I got nothing, and you know, I think we covered it. So you got one thing: if you're not feeling giddy, don't download the vendor recommended OBS, right? You know, yeah. Currently, I think you should have. I think everybody should have version 29.1.1 right now. It has some very important and often in the past overlooked bug fixes and anti-corruption things that have already triggered on my version like 4 or 5 times. So that has helped a lot. If you switch your scene collections, and that's what I was, I need to cover that real quick. Scene collection. We'll do scene collections next time. Yeah, stream elements, slobs, even the Linux, if you're on a flat pack on Linux, you're going to be a version or 2 behind. And yeah, 29.1.2 is out. No, yes, it is. But that's what I was saying. At a minimum, you should be at 29.1.1 as of today. 0.2 adds a couple of other protection methods as well. I try to stay up to date on the minor versions. So the 0.1s and 0.2s, I try to get those when they come out. But again, when version 30 does release, I will probably wait a few weeks because I want all of those bugs worked out before I start moving all my shit over. You know what I mean? But the minor versions and stuff, they do a lot of bug fixes, and they are up. OBS is constantly being worked on. So, you know, don't be afraid to jump on that thing. You can always go back to a previous version. But yeah, you know, I'm going to edit this video. I'm going to get it up on YouTube in the next day or 2, so check that out. But again, if you need those plugin links and you don't feel like going to Google, check out my Discord. I'll have that up tonight. So we're going to go make a new friends. I have links. This is also a friend of Miss Nils. So, you know, as always, my community, you guys are great. But if you are rude when we raid out, I will follow you home and poop in your driveway. But yeah, I had a lot of fun for the very first ever. It was kind of scuffed and a little, you know, yeah, I could do more planning. But we're going to be doing this every Sunday. So look forward on Twitch, Jesus. Look on Twitter And also in the Discord for next week's topic, I think we're going to build off of this one. We might do like build an entire stream scene or something like that, just to, kind of build. But bring your questions. Don't be afraid to ask anything, even if it's a little off topic or whatever. But yeah, be nice, behave. I don't want to follow you home and poop in your driveway, but I fucking will. But I want to thank everybody for coming in and hanging out. June Wise, thank you for the raid and for hanging out. I appreciate you, and of course Miss Nil for the sub, and for being here and asking. And Benny, always good to see you, and thank you for the questions as well. Lily and Tweener and everybody else, Alex, that was in here. I appreciate every single one of you, and I will see you. I am off now until Thursday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I think. Yeah. So I'll be back on Thursday. We'll be doing some more spooky games, or maybe I might do a Baldur's Gate speed run. But if you're only interested in the tech streams, that's fine too. We'll be back with those on Sunday. So until then, everybody, thank you again. I appreciate you. I love you all. And until next time, love, peace, and chicken grease.